All right, what's going on? It is drive time, Friday afternoon, 16 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock. Happy Friday to you. Congratulations. You made it to the weekend. Showed up, you did all the things all week long, and now it is weekend time. Time to relax. Got a great sports weekend ahead. And the forecast actually isn't that bad. A little chilly today, really cold this morning, but it looks like it's going to warm up tomorrow and Sunday. Mountaindale Golf Course has snow on it, so can't play golf tomorrow, so there's that. Grievance. Filed a lot of grievances during crosstalk today with Sean O'Connell. Does a fun thing, the airing of the grievances every Friday. But Final Four, get going tomorrow. We're going to have Illinois-UConn as the early game. It's going to be a 4:09 tip-off on TBS or HBO Max. And then Michigan-Arizona will be a heavyweight fight. Get you ready for those games coming up on the program. The Utah Jazz are in action tonight. Only 5 games left for the Jazz. The Rockets are the opponent. It's an early tip since it's Central Time. 6 o'clock Mountain Time is your tip there. Utah Royals in action tonight at 7 o'clock. NWSL Plus is where you get that. I have no idea, zero clue how to find that, but I'm sure Google can help you out. ChatGPT. NWSL Plus, the Utah Royals taking on Chicago. RSL with an early kick tomorrow, taking on Sporting Kansas City. They are back at it after an international break last week. Of course, the World Cup just over 2 months away. So the U.S. men's national team will have one more opportunity to prepare with a couple of friendly games in May and early June. And what's the latest with Diego Luna's chances to make that team? Of course, we talked about it yesterday with Brian Dunseth and Dax McCarty. Utah Mammoth with a couple of road wins. Good win over Seattle. And they're going to take on the Canucks coming up at 5 o'clock tomorrow. So a busy sports day tomorrow, both locally and nationally. Tommy Lloyd got a nice 5-year deal. Apparently, North Carolina was kicking the tires on the head coach of Arizona. Cam Boozer became the 5th freshman to win AP Player of the Year. 2nd straight Duke freshman to do that as Cooper Flagg won the award last week. So jam-packed show, lot to do. College and pro hoops, spring football for Utah and BYU, the NFL draft just a few weeks away. And a lot of college and pro hoops, and we'll get you ready for a busy sports weekend on the program here on a Friday. Happy Friday. Howard Beck will be our first guest to talk some NBA basketball. Kristen Peak for some NBA draft. My buddy Jordan Bloxham will stop by from T-Box up in Centerville. We'll tell you how you can go get fitted for some new clubs with our friends up at T-Box, as I did. I have my new clubs at home right now, ready to take them out this weekend if the weather will allow. The World of PGA Tour is at the Valera Open in Texas. Of course, next week it's high speed ahead to Augusta National for the major tournament. Of course, the Masters, one of the best tournaments, if not the best tournament all year long. So we'll bring in Jordan today to talk some hockey. And our friend Adrian Denny for the latest on the Utah Mammoth. Looks like they're in a good spot to make the playoffs as a wild card after winning 3 of their last 4. Still a little bit of work to do, but a lot to get to on the show. Howard Beck, Kristen Peak, Jordan Blocks, and Adrian Denny. Me, Spence Checketts. Hello, how are you? All of you, the great listeners on this Friday afternoon. And the producer of this program, Porter Larson. I aired approximately 72 grievances during Crosstalk. Is there any grievance you'd like to get off your shoulder today?
I think that hits our quota.
You got nothing?
For grievances.
Are you very zen today?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, no, I'm not feeling the grievances. But I'm sure I could think of one during the course of the show today if you really need a grievance from me.
Well, I feel like you could air a lot of weather-related grievances based off your passion for weather.
Well, yeah, but we got the rain yesterday. We got the snow yesterday.
But don't we need more?
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I thought.
But
so grievance to Mother Nature.
No. Then we're just asking for punishment, I guess.
We had a pretty dry winter, though. I figured you'd lean into that. No. Okay.
We don't want to anger Mother Nature.
Okay. Fair enough.
By issuing a grievance, I don't know if we're doing the right one. We got to do like a rain dance or something.
All right. I'm not going to force you to air a grievance. I was just offering the space. It's pretty therapeutic.
I heard your crosstalk was pretty therapeutic. I missed it, though. I apologize.
Well, why don't you think about it, and maybe prior to the end of the show, if there's anything you want to get off your chest, you let me know.
I bet Howard Beck has some grievances.
Oh, Howard Beck has plenty of grievances. There's no doubt about that. He will be our first guest, but before Howard stops by, courtesy of our friends at IFA Country Stores, it is time now on a Friday for your opening tip. I want to let you know that any drive to the basket begins with the first step. On the court, that's the ultimate power move. IFA Step 1 Crabgrass Preventer and Lawn Food is the first choice to give your yard the healthy, thick green look you admire. The neighbors will be green with envy, so shop IFA online at ifa.coop or stop by one of their neighborhood stores today. All right. I think we're going to have two really good basketball games tomorrow. Final Four in Indianapolis. It is the 9th time that it has been in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. Did have a chance to go to a Final Four in Indianapolis once upon a time. And it's a really cool venue. I don't know that it's really built for basketball. It's always interesting when it comes to some of these big arenas that they elect to play basketball in. The sightlines can get weird. The depth perception can get weird. The shooting can get a little strange because it's just not like the other venues. But I do think we're going to have a couple of really good games tomorrow. Now, Illinois-UConn is going to be a bit of a rock fight. And I think Michigan-Arizona has a chance to be a track meet up and down. So for Jazz fans, the Illinois game tomorrow, watch the Keaton Wagler kid, okay? He is their lead guard. He has evolved and developed this season that I think makes this game a little bit different because these two teams actually did play all the way back, I want to say in November or December. Earlier this year, UConn beat Illinois rather handily, 74-61, but Illinois is a different team now. They've beaten every team so far with their NCAA tournament run by double digits, and that includes Iowa and Houston. Now, Iowa was a little bit of a, quote, Cinderella story, but they beat Houston by 10 in a low-scoring game, 65-75. So it's a different team now. They have the opportunity and the option to pretty much score in any way they want. You know, they can get up and down a little bit. UConn is also a different team, though, but for Jazz fans, watch the Keaton Wagler kid because he's a player that I think should be available when the Jazz are most likely to draft. And I'll continue to remind everybody, the Jazz are most likely to draft at 5, 6, or 7. We're hoping for some luck, and maybe they get a top 3 pick or maybe number 1 overall. But, you know, where they're most likely to land will simply be 5, 6, or 7. The Keaton Wagler kid is a guy I think they're going to look at. I would imagine most mock drafts have him going around that area. So he's about 18 points a game, 5 boards, 4 assists. But one of the things I like about him, because I also, you know, you have to look at what the Jazz have right now. So Darius Acuff Jr., who was that sharpshooting guard for Arkansas, he just plays too much like Keontae. And I think the Wagler kid is a lead guard with size, and he plays really good defense, and that's one of the things the Jazz just have to look at because they've been so atrocious defensively. So from a Jazz fan perspective, that's certainly something to watch out for. UConn is going for their 3rd title in 4 years. That has not happened in half a century. Illinois hasn't played for the national championship since 2005. So a little tale of two stories there. So I think it'll be a good game. Illinois is a slight favorite, 1.5-point favorite in Vegas. One of the things they do that UConn doesn't is they play a 5-out system. They have good size, but they have 5 guys at all times that will shoot the 3. Wagler is the head of the snake. He's the one that makes them go. We'll see what UConn does to guard him. I think the Caden Ross kid will probably end up on him because you need good size there. But I referenced this. UConn is also a different team than they were when these two teams played back in the day. The Terrace Reed Jr. kid, their big kid, has really developed as a back-to-the-basket threat, so they can play inside out in a way that they couldn't back then. Braylon Mullins, you know him from the shot that he made to advance UConn to the Final Four. Back then, he was barely playing. He had some health issues, and now, of course, he's a big part of the rotation. So my gut tells me Illinois will win the game, but UConn seems to have kind of this thing on their side right now, this team of destiny. Illinois does get 39% of their offensive rebound rate. That's 5th in the NCAA. And UConn does 2 things really well. When they struggle, teams turn them over. Okay, that's the main thing for UConn. When they take care of the basketball, they tend to win games. The other thing they do really, really well is they guard without fouling, okay? And that's a big thing. That's what Danny Hurley has kind of been able to do with all of his teams. You guard without fouling, you take care of the basketball, and now they can play inside out with the Terrace Reed Jr. kid. I think it's going to be a really good game. I'll pull for UConn because I'm a Connecticut kid growing up there, but I think Illinois is going to get it. Now, Michigan-Arizona is fascinating. Arizona's a throwback. They want to score in the paint. They've got players that can score in the paint, or they've got guards that can beat you in the mid-range, and Braden Burries and Jaden Bradley Braden Burries is another player for Jazz fans to watch. He is a lead guard that will probably be available when the Jazz draft. Now, Arizona's starting five outscores their opponent by more points per game than any team in the country. But guess who number 2 is? That's Michigan. Michigan right now, to me, is playing the best basketball of any team left in the tournament. I did pick Arizona to win the game. Michigan is a slight favorite. The Vegas line opened up with Arizona as a small favorite, but that's kind of swung. Now, Arizona's got a little more depth than Michigan. So the Toby Awaka kid, he only plays 20 minutes a night, but he's a walking double-double. He can get you 10 and 10. And Anthony Delorso was a starter for Arizona last year, and he was a 20-point-per-game player at Campbell before he transferred. So both these teams really do want to roll with their starting fives. But when you look at what Arizona can do, ultimately I think they have an opportunity to maybe extend the bench a little bit more. And if Michigan gets into foul trouble, that might be an area where Arizona could capitalize. Because like I said, I think Michigan is playing the best basketball of any team in the country right now. And Michigan is a little bit more varied than Arizona. Arizona, in the modern day, doesn't lean into the three-point shot. Michigan shoots the three. They'll try to get up and down, and they're going to spread it out a little bit more, where Arizona wants to get into the paint. They want to score in the mid-range. And finally, Arizona has made 100 more free throws than their opponents have attempted. They want to get you into foul trouble. They want to pound the rock. They want to be in the painted area, as Hubie Brown would say. So I'm going to roll with Arizona here, although I would not be surprised to see Michigan get that win. Final Four, one of the best days of the year in all of sports, coming up tomorrow with what I think will be 2 really, really good basketball games. Illinois-UConn, 4:09 on TBS, and then Michigan-Arizona, 6:49, same channel. All right, we'll catch a break. We'll get back to some college stuff, but coming up on the other side, our buddy Howard Beck joins us to start a Friday show right here on ESPN 700. We got a few good games tonight. A few good games between two teams trying to win. Not a lot, but a few. The Jazz are in Houston to take on the Rockets. About 5 or 6 games left for most teams. So a lot to do with our next guest, the great Howard Beck, on a Friday afternoon. Howard, how are you, sir?
Spence, doing well. How are you?
I'm well. Where do we find you? Are we in Brooklyn? Are we on the road? What's going on?
Home in Brooklyn. Beautiful sunny day here. We might actually get spring a little bit. We get it for like 5 minutes and then suddenly it plummets to 40. But it's a nice 61 or so degrees right now. Beautiful day in Brooklyn.
Okay,
yeah.
Love that. Love that. I know you guys have had a rough stretch back there, and we've just had a really warm winter randomly. And anyway, it's odd that you guys have been hit as hard as you have, and Utah has like zero snow. But nobody cares about our thoughts on the weather, Howard. So let's move over to some NBA basketball. I don't know that I've asked you about the 65-game rule in order to qualify for awards. And, of course, Luka pulls a hammy last night, and he is in danger of missing out. He needs one more game. I guess he can file a grievance because he missed a couple of games for the birth of his child. But just that dynamic, that 65-game rule, what are your thoughts on it?
Didn't like it from the moment they adopted it for a variety of reasons. One, I worried that there might be a worst-case scenario, and I'm not even sure this is the worst-case scenario. There are worse cases we could probably have than what we've got, but we already have a pretty bad one, right? Like, Luke is on the verge of being eliminated by the rule. Anthony Edwards just got eliminated by the rule. He wasn't going to win it anyway. Probably neither of them were, but they would have been on the ballot, potentially. Cade Cunningham is probably missing out, and he was threatening to be as high as, like, third in this thing as of a few weeks ago before he had the collapsed lung. I didn't like it because I worried about situations like this, but I also didn't like it because I'm a longtime awards voter, and as an awards voter, I already baked all this in. We all did, in fact. You can look at the history of these awards, and in general, guys were not winning awards with fewer than 65 games. Now, there's an outlier here and there, but what you do when you get to this point of the season, if you're an awards voter, is you go, okay, here's a bunch of guys who are all worthy of All-NBA first team or All-NBA second team or MVP or Defensive Player of the Year. And then you consider the totality of their season and you look at their stats and their advanced stats and the team around them and the role they play and all these things. And you also look at how many games did they play? And if two guys are pretty close, but one guy played 10 more games than the other, you usually lean that way. And if a guy missed too many games, you usually push them a little further down the ballot. We've always done this. But what the league was doing was not aimed at us as voters. It was aimed at the players and the teams, specifically the teams, because they wanted guys to play more, and they were tired of load management, and they were tired about hearing about load management. So they create a rule at an arbitrary number and a hard line. And, yeah, there's these little exceptions that maybe these guys will try to explore, but probably they're just going to be eliminated. And what's going to happen is, and this is where it really drives me crazy, it's going to warp the historical record. Because what's going to happen is it's not just that Luke is not going to win. Shea's probably winning anyway, right? Tim Bontemps had his straw poll out today, and he's going to win this in a landslide. So Shea and Wemby and Jokic, by the way, all three of whom were flirting with not making it either based on the games played. But let's say that that's the case. In a normal world, before the 65-game rule, Luka probably would have finished third, fourth, fifth. You know where he's going to finish now? Not there at all. Mm-hmm. He won't get a single vote because he won't even be on the ballot because that's the way this works. And in the old days, as of a few years ago, I could just push Luka further. Oh, he only played 62 games. I would just push him further down the ballot. Now I can't put him on the ballot at all because by rule he won't even be there. And that's the same for all NBA. And so years from now, people are going to go, oh my God, all these great players didn't make all NBA that one year. What happened? And we're going to have to explain. Well, there was this dumb rule, which I think the NBA, I do think they're going to reform it sometime within the next couple of years, if not eliminate it entirely. It just hasn't worked the way that I think that they had hoped, and it's not getting guys on the court more often. These guys all had legitimate injuries this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I get the spirit of the thing as to why they tried to do it. Just to follow up, so solution-based stuff, it just like get rid of it altogether? Like, what are your thoughts on how to move forward?
Well, I think so. It's only 3 years in, and we've had a lot of just massive injuries, right? And so if you're trying to measure, well, how's it affected getting stars on the court? Well, we just had a really anomalous year where like Tyrese Halliburton missed the whole season and Jason Tatum missed most of the season because of serious injuries, and we had a lot of other guys get hurt. It's hard to know or to determine conclusively whether this rule worked or not to motivate teams to play their stars more often. So I don't know that we're getting what they wanted out of it anyway. Even if we were, I don't think it's great at the cost of the awards being warped. So to me, the solution here is scrap it entirely. But at a minimum, what I would love to see is just if you want to say that you need to get to 65 to win MVP or win Defensive Player of the Year or be All-NBA first team, fine. But don't take the guys off the ballot entirely. Just prevent them from winning and adjust the whole thing accordingly. But allow me as the voter to say, you know what, Luka only played 64. I'm going to put him fifth on the MVP ballot. If the league says he can't win, fine. But he should still be eligible to be somewhere down ballot. And same with all NBA teams. You don't want him to be all NBA first team because that should be reserved for the guys who played the most. Fine. He should at least be second team or third team. But I don't even have that ability as a voter to do that. We've always baked in games played, as I say, but we can't even bake it in this case because it's an all or nothing thing.
So you referenced that Shea's probably going to win it, and yeah, the Bontemps straw poll, Vegas odds. Is there any shot, like if San Antonio catches OKC, they're 2 games back, but they did just rest Wemby on a back-to-back. So if, let's say, Wemby, plays the bulk of I think 5 or 6 games or whatever, and San Antonio somehow, some way catches OKC, is there any shot Wembanyama wins it, or does it feel like it's Shea's award?
There are people I know in the business who have kind of, even a month ago, were talking about that premise. Well, if the Spurs overtake the Thunder and Wemby's doing what he's doing, and he's the reason that they overtake him, then that's pretty impressive, and that would give Wemby the nod. I don't know if I subscribe to that or not. Like, I think it would make us at least have to consider it a little bit differently, right? Like, MVP, I say this, and I've said it for years. It's always been a combination of individual excellence and team success, right? The two things go hand in hand. If you put up the greatest stats in the world, but you're on a 42-win team, I don't care. You're not MVP on a 42-win team. And then it's all just about degree, right? Like, how high in the standings do you need to be? How much is it about the individual? How much is it about the team? The V is important here, right? Most valuable. What's the value for? Being on a 42-win team is not a lot of value. The value is winning at a really high level, hopefully 50-plus wins, maybe 60-plus. So there's a case to say Wemby with his two-way dominance, and if it pushed the Spurs past the defending champs, I think it's a fair case logically. I can't dispute it. I'm not sure, to me, if it's enough to then put him over Shea. And it's a hard comparison to make. These are always hard comparisons, but look at how different their roles are. They're the superstar of their respective teams, but their roles and their responsibilities are vastly different. And that reflects in the stats too, right? Shea's got all the gaudy numbers. Like, Wemby's numbers are pretty damn good, but like, he's not going to score, 30, 35 a game on average. But he has a lot of responsibilities at the defensive end where he's averaging over 3 blocks a game and, disrupting any number of other shots that don't even get taken because of his presence. And so you can't quantify everything that Wemby does statistically. So it's tough, but it's an interesting head-to-head battle. And I think that's partially why people say if the Spurs overtook the Thunder, then that's what would give him the nod, right? Because Shea's got the statistical aspect of it kind of won. And Wemby's harder to quantify. But overtaking them in the standings kind of helps you quantify it. Like, yeah, they did that because of his defense as well.
Out this way, it does feel like it's those two teams, not just those two players. They win every night. When San Antonio plays their full complement of players, it's not just that they're winning, they're smashing teams. And when Oklahoma City is fully healthy, they remind us why they continue to be the favorite to win the title. Prior to Luka's injury, he had a historic March, and the Lakers were 15-2 in 17. Denver was here the other night. They're healthy now, and they've won 7 straight. Is there anyone you'd put in the tier of OKC and San Antonio, or are they kind of standing on their own?
They're on their own.
Yeah.
I I will make a carve out here for the Nuggets based on how awesome Nikola Jokic is, the fact that their core group of Jokic and Murray and Aaron Gordon have been together for years, the fact that they won a championship not that long ago. Like, is there a version that, like, the Nuggets are not – we don't need to see them as a great regular season team to be convinced of their ability to win a championship. Like, the talent is there and the muscle memory is there. And, yeah, it's not exactly the same team that won it, but, like, there's a lot of good players there that have been together for a while. So I think the Nuggets could crash this party, but I don't see how – the Thunder and the Spurs have been so consistent start to finish and so great and are so great defensively that it is hard to see anybody else breaking through. I didn't buy the Lakers even during this surge. And Luka now having pulled the hamstring last night, I mean, if he's out for any length of time and misses the start of the playoffs, they're just done. They don't have any depth whatsoever anyway around their guys. Their defense still kind of comes and goes. They got their doors blown off last night long before Luka went down. It was just so clear. Like, it's dangerous sometimes to put too much on one game, but the Lakers have been really bad against the best teams all year. They're like 1-10 against, I think, the Thunder, Spurs, Pistons, and Celtics combined. So the Lakers have not been great against the great teams this season. In fact, they've consistently lost. So they're not in this. It's really about the Thunder and Spurs in the West, and then it's whoever wins the East. You know, do they have a fighting chance in the finals? Sure, but probably whoever wins the West is winning it.
You know, all this conversation, first of all, he's LeBron James. He's this generation's that guy, so people are going to talk about him. When it comes to, like, what's next for him, it feels like the best thing for the Lakers is for him to find another place to play if they want to surround Luka and Austin Reeves with anything, right? I mean, your thoughts on what's next there in that space?
It's really interesting because salary-wise, you know, he makes so much that the practical thing is to say, well, Luka's in his prime, Austin Reeves is young, LeBron is at the end. We can't afford to tie up too much in a guy who's going to be gone soon anyway, and is, you know, it's hard to say he's in decline considering how great he still is. But you like, the practical thing is to say, recapture that cap room and reallocate it to younger players to build around Luka and Austin Reeves. That is the case I would usually make. I would just say my one hesitation is that LeBron has been so amazing as a third star, as a complementary star for the first time in his career, really, that I could make the case that he's super valuable to them, just not at his salary. And he is a free agent this summer. And if he decides to keep playing, wherever he goes, it's going to have to be for less. Like, he cannot, I mean, he based on his value as a box office draw and everything else and all the money that he's probably not made based because of the maximums in the NBA, it feels offensive to say he should take a pay cut, but, like, he's going to have to take less somewhere, whether in LA or somewhere else. And so that's the quandary for the Lakers. It's twofold. It's a salary cap issue, and how much is he willing to play for, how little based on his old salary. And it's also an issue of, is it time to simply refashion the franchise's identity around Luka? And if that's the case, then you just need to cut LeBron loose anyway.
What did you make of Cuban's comments on the podcast earlier this week, outwardly admitting that he regrets selling to the group that he did?
I mean, he has said versions of it before, Spence. Like, this is, I guess every time somebody asks, he's gonna say it again. But he's kind of said it, I think, a couple times within the last year, ever since the Luka trade. Like, that, you know, that really just, I think, broke his brain. Like, it's I don't mean, like, you know, it's any impact on Cuba. I just mean, like, for him, that was devastating. You know, he spent, you know, a couple decades as the owner and, you know, presided over a championship back in 2011 and was there for them to draft Luka to succeed Dirk. And I have no doubt in my mind that if Mark Cuban owned the team, Luka would still be there. He would have never signed off on that. So that he's now regretting selling, I don't think that should be a surprise. And again, I think he has said this a couple times now. I think the new twist this week was him throwing Jason Kidd under the bus and saying that Kidd was advocating for the deal also.
Yeah, that was a wild thing. And then Kidd himself was forced to respond to it. And he's maintained that he had nothing to do with that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Hey, I want to ask you about a team out east. So there was a season here I think it was the second to last year Quinn was the coach of the Jazz, where they ran off like 22 of 23. And that's when everybody kind of started paying attention to the Jazz, when they started winning games at a high clip. Atlanta has figured something out. I mean, every time I have you on, we talk Detroit, Boston, New York, Cleveland. Feels like those are the four. Is Atlanta making a case to at least be interesting? What have they figured out?
I think they've made a case to be interesting. I don't know that they've made a case to be legitimate. Most of this surge for the last month plus, most of it, not all, most of it was against a very, very, very soft schedule. And so it's a little misleading. Now, that said, they did beat the Celtics recently. Trying to remember who the Celtics were resting that night. They did just thump Orlando, but like the Magic are they're basically quitting on Jamal Mosley now. They're coming apart. I can't put a lot of stock in beating up on Orlando right now either. They did beat Detroit in overtime. Of course, Cade was out then, I believe. It's hard to sometimes assess a late season kick by a team that was otherwise lackluster, because in this league, more now than ever, you can put up a lot of wins down the stretch in March and April against a bunch of teams that aren't really trying anymore. And a lot of what the Hawks have done was that. Now, that said, Jalen Johnson is legit. He's great. They have, a lot of, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, an incredible season, great pickup for them. I think they're legitimately good and interesting, but I don't think it's, we'd be getting ahead of ourselves to put them in a conversation of potential upset in the first round of the playoffs or something like that. I'm not buying them just yet.
So with what Detroit's been able to do without Cade, look, Boston with Tatum is certainly a different thing altogether. Are you ready to just say for now Detroit has earned the right, the benefit of the doubt, to be the favorite in the East?
I was saying that for most of the season.
Yeah.
With Cade out and all the question marks there, look, Dennis Jenkins has been fantastic in his place, but Dennis Jenkins is, a rookie who's just having a wonderful breakout season out of the blue, and Jalen Duren has been phenomenal. Great feature on Jalen Duren by my colleague and co-host Logan Murdoch this week at The Ringer. Under other circumstances, if Cade were healthy right now, I'd say that they're the worthy favorites based on the standings. But with Cade out, and with as great as the Celtics have been, and as good as Jason Tatum has looked recently, I feel like Boston's the logical favorite in the East right now.
I want to ask you about another team out that way, and they probably deserve more credit and more people talking about them. And, look, I will sneak in a Jazz question. Believe it or not, I have one. But, we're sitting here waiting for this season to end and maybe looking forward to a season next year where our team is actually trying. What is to be learned about what Charlotte has been able to do this year?
There's a bunch of different things going on there. And, some of these things are interrelated. They've got new ownership there as of a couple of years ago with a new front office and a new head coach and Charles Lee. And, they've been mired for so long, eventually along the way, you're gonna the drafts are gonna finally kick in, right? Unless you blow the draft every year, you eventually get the payoff. They're finally getting the payoff right now. Knippel is looking like he's going to win Rookie of the Year over Cooper Flagg, which we never would have guessed back in October. But he has been phenomenal, and I think he's also this very team-oriented player who everybody says the vibes are just great around there right now, and it's not all Knippel, but that's part of it. And Brandon Miller has really blossomed, and LaMelo Ball is playing not every night, but a lot of nights a more refined version, a little more disciplined version of himself. And the talent, nobody ever doubted LaMelo Ball's talent. It was always doubts about his mindset and his just approach to the game, sometimes being a little bit careless or too whimsical out there. And maybe it's because the stakes were lower, but the stakes are higher now, and everybody's kind of fallen in line. And so it's a lot of everything. It's different leadership at the top with ownership and front office. It's the coaching. It's the combination of talent. It's pieces just falling in place. Also, just really good draft class. It's not just Knippel, Sion James and Kalkbrenner. They're just getting contributions everywhere. And it's been really fun to see. Like they are that team in the East where I think if you're one of the top tier teams, you don't want to face Charlotte in the first round because you might, you probably beat them on talent and experience, but they're a little scary. They're just a really potent bunch. And if you look at their record and their offensive and defensive ratings and all that stuff, since about, January 1st, like they've been one of the best teams in the league.
Back to the thought about the Celtics. Can they or anyone else in the East make either OKC or San Antonio kind of uncomfortable?
I think if I'm the Thunder and I'm thinking ahead and I'm like, we're going to get by San Antonio, we're going to win the West again, we're going to defend our championship. And now I'm thinking about who I don't want to face coming out of the East. I think like the Celtics are that team, right? Like they've won a championship in recent memory. They have one of the best 1-2 punches in the league in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Derek White's really good and a terror on defense. Peyton Pritchard's really good. Neemias Queta has really emerged and solidified their front court. Joe Mazzulla's a great coach, and they defend their tails off and they shoot a lot of threes. Like I do not. If I'm the Thunder, I would rather face either like Detroit with no real playoff experience up until now, or the Knicks who can be all over the map, or the Cavaliers who have James Harden whose postseason record isn't great. Like I would probably want to face anybody out of the East other than Boston.
I'm going to ask you a question I was asked today on a appearance I did on a show. It's kind of a BYU-centric show with A.J. DeBonts out there as the potential number 1 overall pick. Of all of the options for the teams who could potentially get the number 1 pick, what's worst case scenario for AJ? Where does he not want to land? And why is it Sacramento?
Oh, man. Sacramento catching strays. Where does he not want to land? I just pulled up tankathon.com so I could glance. If it were like my kid, or say I'm an agent and I'm thinking about where I want my guy to go, I'll just say it. Yeah, I don't want him to go to a franchise that I don't trust. I'm not even thinking about cities. I'm not thinking about recent record or anything else. I would want my guy to go to a place where I trust them to support him right, develop him right, put the right talent around him, all of that. And I would put a line right through Sacramento, and I'd probably put a line right through New Orleans.
Yeah.
Those franchises in recent years just have not been trustworthy or consistent or having a clear vision. I don't think I'd want him to go to Chicago either, for that matter, and for similar reasons. Like the Bulls haven't been as dismal, but they've been consistently just average and by design. And so like that's a franchise where I just don't think they have much ambition or creativity. They don't have some of the other baggage that the other franchises I mentioned were. But like, yeah, I think those are the ones where I'd say I would just assume, if I could steer it somehow, those are the ones I would just assume not have my guy go to.
Recently on your podcast, Real Ones with Logan Murdoch and Raja Bell, you tiered the tanking teams. You tiered them in a tier of joy, tier of hope, and a tier of sorrow. Where did our very own Utah Jazz land in your tiers?
I think I ended up putting them in the middle tier, the tier of hope. Okay. Did I possibly put them in the top tier? It's hard to remember now. It was already, at least 3 days ago. So I'll pull up my notes while we're talking. But my case for some optimism with Utah is obvious, right? Like, they're not going to be trying to tank anymore. 2, you're presuming a start of next season with a fully healthy and playing Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. and a re-signed Walker Kessler and Keontae George and whoever they're getting in this draft, which could be, top 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it's going to be, pick. That's pretty promising on paper. Now, we've never seen that group play together, and there's a lot of assumptions baked into this, but on paper, that's looking pretty promising. And in fact, I think, don't quote me on this, but I believe my colleague Zach Lowe, was it Zach? Somebody said on their pod within the last 2 days that they could see the Jazz like chasing 50 wins next year.
Yeah, it was Zach.
It
was Zach.
It was Zach. Okay. So that feels like a pretty big leap to me. I'm not sure, especially as tough as the West has been, to make that big of a leap is hard. But listen, like they're going to be obviously dramatically improved, if for no other reason than they will be trying to win, but also because they're going to start the season with just a lot more talent in hand. So yeah, it's time to turn the corner, and I think that's absolutely what we'll see.
Now, you kind of answered the question, but I will follow up because I wanted to finish here. I went down to the Jazz Nuggets game the other night, got there as early as I could so I could talk to as many people possible because I haven't been down there much this year because, they love Ace, okay? They love Ace Bailey, and he has really come on as of late. So all the guys you mentioned, in addition to Ace, and then asset added in the draft, I agree with you. A jump from close to the bottom up to 50, 55 wins feels like a massive leap. What would you say to the fan base about what you perceive to be a success story for this team next year when they're actually going to be serious about competing?
By the way, I just looked up my notes. I did, in fact, have the Jazz in my highest tier.
There we
of
go.
Joy.
There we
so
go.
They're the tier of joy along with the Pacers and Mavericks. Pacers, obviously, because they get Halliburton back. Mavericks, obviously, Flag plus Kyrie back, presumably. Anyway, so those are the three teams that were in the tier of joy, and those are the teams I expected to make the biggest leaps next season.
All right.
It's interesting. A couple different things. One, on the Ace Bailey thing, I'm really, 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 really curious if we could flash forward to November, what Ace Bailey's role is and how accepting of that role he is, because he's getting a lot of latitude right now, which is a really fun thing to have as a highly drafted rookie with a lot of individual talent, and you just get to do, I'm not saying he gets to do whatever the heck he wants, but he gets a lot of latitude right now on a team that doesn't have any expectations. Next year's team will have expectations, and there are going to be a lot more experienced guys available, and who knows what they may do in free agency or trade this summer too. So he may have to take a little bit of a step back, and that's another test of a guy's kind of character and ability to blend in and blend their talents. So that's one thing I'll have an eye on when we get to the fall. How does Ace Bailey mesh with a now veteran group with expectations? In terms of what the expectations should be, I mean, obviously making the playoffs would be really nice. At minimum, being in the play-in would be great. And there's a whole lot of off-season to go when we get there to see, what are the Lakers doing to reformat around Luka? What are the Rockets doing after they probably crash and burn the first round? Do the Suns have a move or two in them to keep improving? The Trailblazers are young and need to hire a new coach, and the Clippers is Kawhi Leonard's, contract getting voided by the league, and are the Warriors reloading around Steph? I look at when you start talking about what the Jazz could do and how high could they jump, you have to look at who's going to fall, if anybody, and what the other teams ahead of them are doing to also try to keep improving. The Pelicans have talent, they just don't win a lot. So there's potential for them to get better, and the Mavericks should get better. So that's why I can't even proclaim as Zach confidently did 50-win season, because there's just so many other teams that could potentially be making their own improvements.
Well said, buddy. I appreciate the time. Have a great weekend. Enjoy that spring weather. I know it's been cold for months. Thanks, bud.
Thanks, Spence. Talk to you next week.
Howard Beck from The Ringer, one of my favorite NBA writers and has been for quite some time. I don't believe he's on Twitter much anymore. You can find his work on theringer.com, and he's got a great podcast with former Jazzman Raja Bell. Appreciate Howard's time today. Brought to you by IFA Country Stores. IFA Country Stores, they've got everything you need to care for your lawn, no matter its size or shape. Their 4+ lawn care program can promote healthy green lawn for you this summer. They're the same products used at many local sports fields, golf courses, and city parks. All right, 1 hour down. We've got 3 hours to go. We'll talk some NBA draft with Kristen Peak. We're going to do some golf today with Jordan Bloxham, and the latest with Utah Mammoth with Adrian Denny. Busy show on a Friday. Happy Friday to you. Keep it here on ESPN 700. Going to talk a little golf with Jordan Bloxham from T-Box in Centerville. We'll let you know how you can get fitted for some new golf clubs, like I did a few weeks back. Adrian Denny for the latest on the Utah Mammoth. But our next guest is good enough to join us from time to time to talk some NBA draft. Kristen Peak on a Friday. Hello, Kristen. How are you?
Hey, how are you? I am in Indy where there's a lot of things happening. The Final Four, USA Basketball Spring Mini Camp, Chipotle Nationals. So I'm happy to join you guys.
I appreciate the time. So it's the 9th time the Final Four has been set in Indianapolis. I went, I believe, in 2005 or 2006. Give us a little scene setter since you're there live. What's the vibe in the city this afternoon?
Anybody who's anybody in terms of like basketball is here. From the college side, from the high school side, I mentioned the national championship is here. You've got shoe company executives here. You've got a ton of agents, a ton of scouts and front office executives just because there's so much going on. USA Basketball Spring Mini Camp is kicking off tonight at 6:30, a little bit outside the city. You've got Beckham Black, Anthony Black's younger brother. You've got the number one player in the junior class who, the AJ Williams, he's participating in that. So there's a lot of NBA scouts that are heading to that. So it's a very jam-packed weekend for all levels of basketball.
Oh, it's awesome. No, that's awesome. It's good to hear. I mean, when you say anyone who's anyone, I mean, I'm here in the studio in Salt Lake, so it kind of hurts my feelings.
I'm sorry.
I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing you. So obviously, Kristen, out this way, A.J. DeBonsa played his college ball about 40 miles south down at Brigham Young. And we'll start with the low-hanging fruit, most obvious question for a draft expert like you. First player off the board should be who and why?
It's going to be A.J. DeBonsa. He really asserted himself in the Big 12 tournament. I know I talked to a lot of different scouts and front office executives, and just in what he did in those games and also, the NCAA tournament late in the season. I mean, you cannot argue and you cannot, just kind of you look at his projection and what he's going to be. He's 19 years old right now. What he's going to be at 25 years old as a 6'9" two guard is unbelievable. So I think he's kind of separated himself from the pack, even though he still keeps teasing, I don't know, I got to talk to my mom. I may go back to BYU. He's not going back to BYU. He's going to declare for the draft eventually, and he's most likely going to be the number one player in the draft.
So let's stick with a few local things, then we'll move over to some more national macro things. Richie Saunders came back to BYU to try to prove that maybe he could play his way into, I don't know, maybe late first round. I still think he might get a second round look, but of course, horrible injury, poor kid, and it really affected the rest of BYU season. But I feel bad for Richie. What would you say about his pro prospects at this point, Kristen?
I will say this is the thing about the second round this year. It's going to thin out because of NIL opportunities and the fact that next year is considered a weaker draft class. So I do think that works in the favor for Richie Saunders. I think he's going to be drafted in the second round. Teams have seen enough from him from last year and also the first half of this year to believe that he can come in and be someone that can contribute, whether that's at secondary unit or in the G League and try to fight for that roster spot. So I think Richie did the right thing. I think he's going to hear his name called. Do I think that's in the first round? I do not think so, just in the depth of this first round. And, you're going to hear players that say, I'm only going to stay in this draft if I am a first round lock. And they're going to want that promise from teams. And so that's why I feel like someone from Richie Saunders, he could hear his name called early in the second round to mid-second round.
So Rob Wright, there's some things to really like about Rob Wright. He'll be back at BYU. The days of a guard, I mean, I've met him a couple of times, and, if he's 6 feet, I'm 6'2". Like, he's not tall. He's excellent with the ball in his hands. He's great handles. I don't know. I'm not sure that I think he's a pro. What do you think?
Well, Rob, it's so funny. He's actually out here in Indianapolis supporting his high school team, Mountain Verde Academy. I just saw him. But, Rob will be back hopefully. He's got to get the deal. He's got to get everything done.
Yep.
But he will be returning to college basketball. And do I think he's a pro? I mean, obviously, I don't think he's obviously not going to enter this year's draft. next year's draft, you see someone his similar size do very, very well, whether that's Jaden Bradley at 4 years at Arizona or even more very elitely as Darius Acuff. So there is room in the NBA for a guard his size. He just needs to have that similar year. I would say similar projection as Jaden Bradley did. And Jaden is another guard, the Arizona point guard, who is Big 12 Player of the Year, who led his team to a Final Four, that I think he's going to be drafted this year in the second round.
So, of course, to start the year, it felt like the Vegas odds and a lot of people around basketball had Darren Peterson as I will stop it short of consensus, but it felt like most mocks I saw, most people that we had on the show, felt like Darren was number one. We all know the narrative surrounding him this year. Just tell me what your understanding is of what exactly happened there and whether or not he's fully healthy.
I do think this is one of those things, like I saw, obviously I covered Darren Peterson and AJ DeBonta as high school prospects. I was at the 2 games where they went head-to-head, and they combined for 107 points. It was ridiculous. But for Darren Peterson specifically, the narrative surrounding him and just the speculation that he doesn't really love the game and he's sitting out on purpose and half his NIL was never delivered and that's why he's only playing half the season, that is categorically false. I have never met a player that loves the game of basketball and is more competitive than Darren Peterson. I think this is a bad stretch of consecutive injuries where, yes, full body cramps happen. Yes, he had a hamstring issue, which, by the way, NBA players have hamstring issues and hamstring injuries, and they're out half the season. DP tried to come back after 2 months and tried to play fully. Then he caught the flu. Then we saw him mouthing to his coach, I can't play, I'm not 100%. And Bill Self, knowing that this is a star player, respecting that and saying, okay, you're not ready to go. That's fine. I don't think there is any bad bone in Darren Peterson's body. I think when teams bring him in, when they take a look at his medical, it's going to be, one of those things where they're like, okay, yeah, this was just a string of bad luck, bad injuries. And there is no way in my mind that he falls outside 3. I think it's going to be 1, 2, or 3. That's it. Like I saw a mock today that had him at 5 to the Jazz, by the way, which would be a steal for you guys. No way in that world is that happening where a team takes Darius Acuff over Darren Peterson. That's never happening. I'm sorry to say, Utah Jazz, that's not happening.
See, I would love, I would love that for us here. Got to clear my voice. I would love that for us here, but I agree. There's no chance. I want to follow up because I don't do it full time like you do, but anyone that covers basketball knew that this freshman class was going to be really good. So I watched a bunch of the stuff last year, and he just doesn't look as explosive this year as he did as a rising senior in the high school ranks. My whole thing with him all year is he must not be right because he just doesn't look as explosive consistently as he did last year.
Well, what are you looking at? Are you looking at that dunk that he had over BYU, the poster dunk, where he was incredible in that first half? Like, that looked like the normal Darren Peterson that I saw. I think there's a difference between, trusting your body through a hamstring issue and also full body cramps. This is the thing that you have to understand. When you're hamstring, after a hamstring injury happens, you have to differentiate between, okay, is this just my hamstring tightening up, or is this an onset of full body cramps coming up? So, of course, as a player, you're going to have PTSD about that and trying to understand your body and what is happening after the fact. And so I don't discredit DP and erring the side of caution, especially in a draft year and knowing what he's capable of. I have no reservation in the sense of, like, when he gets to the league and he's fully healthy, he is going to perform, to the capability that people have projected him to be. You have to remember the same talking heads from ESPN, from The Ringer. Bill Simmons came out preseason and says, he reminds me of Kobe. The same people, Stephen A. Smith, said the same thing, are now saying, I don't know if he loves the game of basketball. That is reckless, I think, that we put on these teenage players, especially in the most stressful year of their life. I don't think it's fair. I think we need to give them a sense of grace. And I don't think long-term it's going to affect Darren Peterson at all. I think he's going to be a fantastic pro. I think AJ DeBonsa is going to be a fantastic pro. So is Cameron Boozer. So is Caleb Wilson. Like, this is why we've been talking about this draft class for so long, is because of the way they project long term, not of what they did this 1 year in college basketball.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I'm on your side.
Yeah.
No part of me.
I get very passionate about this because I've covered them for so long, and now I feel like I have to be like a proud, protective bonus auntie to some of these kids and defend them, because I know them, I know their work ethic, I know them on and off the court, and when I see people who have just seen them play for 3 months, I need to remind them who they are as people and who they are as players.
Yeah. I mean, there were certainly snapshot moments where you saw what we saw last year. My whole thing all year long has been like, I'm not sure that he's fully right consistently. Yeah, I never bought into the whole like he's sandbagging or sitting out or whatever.
Right.
Any chance that he still goes number one? I know you feel like it's AJ, but based off of, to your point, the entire body of work, it only takes one GM to want, Darren over AJ. Do you think there's still a chance he could go off the board at one?
Of course there is. I mean, this is very similar to, I don't know, what was the draft, 2022, when everybody was saying Jabari Smith Jr., and then Orlando Magic came in and said, no, we're taking Paolo. And it was Paolo, Chet, and Jabari Smith Jr., and everybody thought it was going to be Jabari that draft. And it ended up going Paolo, Chet, Jabari. So, yes, you're right. It only takes one GM. If there is one GM that looks at Darren Peterson and says, this is our guy. This is our guy for the franchise. We're going to take him. That's fine. And you know what? That works out for every other GM at 2 and 3, because now they're not pressured to take anybody. They're like, okay, yeah, we'll take AJ. We'll take Cam. We'll take Caleb. Like, then they just take the next available prospect. And that's what's so great about this draft, is that it's not one of those. I mean, obviously the Victor Wembanyama draft, you're just like, okay, Victor. But then you're not the Portland Trailblazers, and you're not years later thinking, well, should we have taken Amen Thompson over Scoot Henderson? You're not second guessing yourself on that. Like, there are so many great players in this draft that I think it's just going to be a trickle effect.
So we had a guest, I think it was Tom Haberstroh, who said if it was him, he's taking Cameron Boozer at one. Is there any chance anyone likes Cam? No chance.
I mean, if you are, maybe the Indiana Pacers, I know they like Cameron Boozer, but the thing about Cameron, yes, he's fantastic. But when you look at the upside and the projection of what Darren Peterson and AJ DeBonsa project at 24 and 25, we're talking about multi-all-star reign. And Cam, yes, he's a winner, but he's a connector. And so you're looking at him as someone like, sure, if the Mavericks or the Thunder, for whatever reason, get that 1.2% chance and they get the number one pick, you do not need Darren Peterson or AJ DeBonsa. So, yeah, okay, sure, you take Cameron Boozer. But the players that are actively trying to tank, you are going to take AJ DeBonsa or Darren Peterson.
So the Jazz are most likely to draft at 5, 6, or 7. Most likely to draft at 5, 6, or 7. We'll see. I want to ask you about a couple, because I think they need a lead guard on the roster. I think Collier's been pretty good. But talk about Kingston Flemings. We're in Big 12 country with BYU and Utah, so I was able to see him play up close a couple of times. Is that a player the Jazz could look at? Let's say they're at 5, and what sort of pro do you think he'll be?
I love Kingston Flemings. This is a player, who came into Houston. Nobody expected him to be one and done. And I remember I was down there and I was talking to the staff, and they said, Keldon Sampson, let me tell you, I go to a Houston practice and I have anxiety for the players, and I'm not even on the court. And so for the Houston staff to say, oh no, Keldon was on Kingston early on, until he realized that Kingston was the best player on the team and he needed to build him up a little bit. So Keldon was the one that was hard on Kingston until he realized, okay, no, we really need to pour into him and give him confidence, because he's going to be the one to help us carry this team. And what Kingston has done this 1 year at Houston, and NBA teams know this, if you play at the level that Kingston has played for Keldon Sampson, that is a huge just green flag in terms of draft prospect. He's tough. He's smart. He can make quick decisions. He's good off the dribble, off the PNR. He's got the size. I was at Players Era tournament where he kind of turned it on. A lot of GMs were there, and I thought to myself, there is a GM somewhere in this arena. Remember, this is in November, and I thought to myself, there's a GM in this arena that is going to draft Kingston Fleming based off this 3-game stretch alone, because he showed where he was and how he just got more confident, and what he did there in terms of his assertiveness as a lead guard, what he did off the ball, how consistent he was as a freshman playing for someone like Kelvin Sampson, just shows what he's going to project later on in his career, especially in the NBA level.
Illinois, of course, is in the midst of a great run.
Yeah.
We'll see if they can keep it going. Also, Keaton Wagler should be there, where the Jazz may be drafting. Give me your thoughts on him.
Keaton Wagler is one of those players, he's been an anomaly. He was, I think, 247 Sports, who I think is the most trusted recruiting site, because they have 6 or 7 guys that rank these players and not just 1 or 2 like the other, like On3 or ESPN. But what 247 had him 149th in the class. And then he comes in to Illinois, and he's going to be a lottery pick, a top 7 pick. And I went to Illinois. I sat down with both Kylan Boswell and Andrei Stojakovic, and they said, KP, we've known this since July. He came in, and during our early runs, and we looked at each other, we're like, well, thank God. Now we have somebody else that we can put the ball in their hands, and it's not just going to be on us. And then they said, once the season started, they said they had a pregame scrimmage. I can't remember who it was, but Keaton went off, and they looked at each other. They're like, okay, this is the guy. He's going to be a one and done. And Brad Underwood said the same thing. Of course, he has to get stronger, but his shot selection, the way he gets to his spots, I don't care about his verticality. Everybody's talking about his verticality. I don't care about that. The way he can manipulate and maneuver through the defense, that's what you need to do in NBA spacing, and that's what Keaton Wagler does. And I am so enamored about what he's done, and it just shows that there is way than one more path to the NBA than just a 5-star McDonald's All-American Hoop Summit one-and-done talent.
If I ever have a son that's an awesome prospect, will you cover him and stand up for him every time you go on radio shows across the country, please?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Darius Acuff Jr. So Keontae George had a really nice year for the Jazz. Yeah. And I know you covered him when he was in college, and I really like Darius Acuff Jr. I feel like those two are rather similar, but he will be on the board probably when the Jazz draft. Give me your thoughts on both Darius Acuff Jr. and whether or not he's a little bit like Keontae.
He is. It's one of those things where, like, okay, you look at the San Antonio Spurs. They had the number 2 pick. They already had Stephon Castle, who was Rookie of the Year. They had De'Aaron Fox coming in, and they still decided to draft Dylan Harper.
Yep.
So if you're the Utah Jazz, if you're looking at this draft board, do you draft best available and just figure it out like the San Antonio Spurs have done? Or do you look at positional things? Because guess who else was still on the board? Con Knipple. Like, if you're the Spurs, are you looking at this draft and thinking, oh, that would have been really great to have some shooting for spacing for our guards for Con? I don't know. There is no wrong answer. I think in this draft, you draft next best available prospect. And if you were there, I don't know if I would take him at 5. I think I'd take him at 7. So if you're the Jazz and you're at 7 and you have a chance to take him, or I think Nate Amen will be there, also Michael Brown. Even I'm more higher on Yaxel Lindenberg than a lot of people. But if you're looking at next available prospect and just figure it out, yeah, you take Darius Acuff, because guess what? He goes to Arkansas. He was already there with DJ Wagner. He was coming in with Malik Thomas. And I said this to all 3 of them. I'm so glad that the 3 of you found a way to harmonize. Instead of compete for ball touches, they were there making each other better. And that's why they got so far in the NCAA tournament. That's why they won the SEC tournament, is because they found a way to click. And that started with Darius Acuff and what he does offensively.
I want to ask you about a rookie for the Jazz. I went down to the Jazz Nuggets game this week and got there as early as I could so I could talk to some of the front office guys. This isn't going to surprise you, but they love Ace. They just love Ace Bailey so much. And one of them said, I wouldn't trade Ace for the number 1 pick this year. So interesting. Yeah,
I don't know about that.
Right. Which took me back, but I know you covered him. He was a little ill to start the year and then ran into some health issues. But since he's been healthy and since the Jazz have been, how shall I say, delicately holding on to their draft pick, he has been given a lot of usage and he's flown. I mean, it's double digits, 32 of the last 34 games. How did you project him coming out of Rutgers, and what do you think it's going to look like when it's fully baked?
He is someone, I mean, we've always known what an offensive threat he's been since high school, where he put up 40-plus games multiple times. Then he goes to Rutgers. He's with Dylan Harper. They're the 1-2 punch there. So we knew what his ceiling was. I didn't think it would take him I didn't think it would be this long. I mean, like, he has just figured it out automatically. And what the Jazz are doing in terms of providing him the opportunity to get that confidence and the minutes in the NBA against NBA physicality and also the NBA pace, and him finding that just being comfortable in that setting is only going to make him better next year. And I think that is what was productive for the Jazz this year. You know, just get him as many minutes as possible while still protecting your lottery pick, if we're calling it what it is. And, to see him flourish this way, especially I feel like after he wasn't named a rising star, he had a little chip on his shoulder. And that is the best version of Ace Bailey that we can all expect. Like, he is out there to prove himself, and I think that's what he's done. And now people are taking notice. And now if you're a Jazz fan, you're so excited about what the future is, and especially next year after this draft.
2 young players on the team, Kristen, that they're still trying to figure out by their own admission. So your thoughts on Kyle Filipowski, who won the Summer League MVP a year ago and has just kind of been up and down this year. And then Cody Williams, who was a top 10 pick. They're still trying to figure out exactly what they have there. What do you think they have?
Cody Williams specifically, I mean, everybody looks at him and then you look at his brother, J-Dub, and what he's doing at OKC, and you try to just compare them. It's not fair to compare. Cody came out as one and done. J-Dub was a 4-year player. So when we look at Cody and his development, I think there's been a lot of bright spots. And I think when we look back at when Cody was a draft pick, there was not enough grace in terms of his development, and now he's starting to come into his own. Similarly, in what we saw with Jaden McDaniels and the Minnesota Timberwolves, and just, what he did as a 3-and-D threat with his size and versatility, I think Cody is starting to come into his own right at the right time. And for Kyle Filipowski, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about Flip. I've covered him since high school. I covered him at Duke. Obviously, I've followed him as a Jazz prospect. I like him as a big body and a rim protector and a drop coverage. I don't know what he projects past that, but it's nice to have some size inside. Is that nice enough to say?
That, yes, delicately put. And, a nice kid. It just feels like maybe Europe is in his future, but we'll see. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, before I set you loose, I've got your Twitter pulled up. We'll tell people where they can find you. I'm just wondering what you make about what Kevin Young so we're the home of Utah Athletics, and I very much love Alex Jensen, and I'm hoping he can figure this out. But it's undeniable that this school, about 40 miles down south, has proof of concept that Kevin Young can develop pros with Jaeger Demon last year and A.J. Debonsa this year. So Quinn Ellis, a British point guard, you're saying BYU's in the mix for them. And then tell me about Bruce Branch III, the player that is committed to go to Brigham Young next year.
Yeah, I'll first start with Bruce Branch III. We actually broke his news on NBA TV. He sat down with me saying he was going to reclass, and then a few short months later, he committed to BYU, and that just shows just the NBA track record that Kevin Young and the staff are trying to build at BYU, trying to get these top high school picks, that are projected top 5 draft prospects a year later. And what Bruce Branch, he was at McDonald's All-American. He was great in the first few days in practice. And, you talk to NBA scouts, they see the upside in him and what he's going to be as an NBA wing. And, in terms of their recruitment overseas, of course, they're always going to be in the mix. And with Ellis especially, It's Duke, it's Louisville, it's them, and Kentucky. And so seeing the way that falls. But anybody that says, oh, if your team is recruiting, or if you're in the portal with 23-year-old players from Europe, you might as well just be G League players. Well, that's not the way the portal works anymore. Just jump on the bandwagon and be excited that you are in the mix with some of these top players that are starting point guards, in the Euro League. Just be happy that your university is being considered. And if they do decide to come, then that's great. But I don't think if there's no stipulation, then, just accept it. That's the way the game is being played right now. So the BYU future is great. What KY is building there is fantastic. And Bruce Branch III is going to be another player. When we talk this time next year, he's going to be another top draft prospect.
Is this a picture of you and David Beckham on your Instagram?
There is. Oh, my gosh.
The backstory here. What's going on here?
That happened when I was working at my former employer. I don't like naming their name because they did me dirty when they let me go. I was at my former employer for a very long time, and this is years ago, and David Beckham had just signed with the LA team, the MLS team.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought him in for an interview, and they asked me if I would be a producer on that shoot. So There I am with David Beckham. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, look, appreciate your time. Love the way you're standing up for these young men. If any GM has any questions, I'm sure they're going to call you. Where's the best place, Kristen, for people to go find all of your work?
On Twitter at Kristen Peak, Instagram, or NBA.com or HoopsHQ.
Okay, thanks so much. Enjoy the weekend in Indianapolis, okay? Thank you very much.
All right, talk soon.
All right,
Bye.
Kristen Peak. She, as you could tell, she covers the high school and college ranks and has a lot of good stuff when it comes to the NBA draft. She referenced where you can go find all of her work, so go check it out. Appreciate her time. All right, we have a new client on the show, and very excited about it because I work with them personally, and have worked with them personally for 2 years. It's my friends at Game Day Men's Health. So we are now in April. You have 3 months behind you of data as to whether or not you followed up on your New Year's resolution of losing weight, getting in shape, or getting in better shape than you were prior to. How's your progress so far? If you're frustrated with it, I promise you Game Day Men's Health can expedite your growth, because that's what they did for me. 2 years ago, I set the same resolution, want to get back in shape, want to get in the best shape I've been in as an adult was my goal. And then after a few months, just kind of like right now with the New Year's resolution stuff, I was frustrated because I felt like I was doing all the right things without making a ton of progress. So I had a friend recommend Game Day Men's Health. Now they're offering you right now the very same deal they give me, which makes all this stuff very affordable. Step number 1 is you get a free consultation on the house, no obligation. So schedule that right now at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. It's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Your free consultation is about 15 to 20 minutes of blood work, and then they'll show you your panels. They'll go over them with you. So, okay, you're good here, and then here's a spot we may be able to help you with. For me, it was supplementing testosterone and then utilizing some of their peptides. Okay, so that's what they were able to provide me. They also have semaglutide, tirzepatide. If you've heard about the weight loss drugs that are working wonders, you should also use this for that because you can save a bunch of money. But here's the kicker. If you tell them you heard me talking about it, they're going to give you 50% off your entire year membership. Same deal they gave me, right? And it makes it super affordable. So free consultation, 50% off, get back in shape, lose weight, or get in better shape than you are right now. Locations in Lehigh, Pleasant Grove, Cottonwood Heights, and South Ogden. So go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now, GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Schedule that consultation. When you get in there, tell them you heard me talking about it. They're going to knock 50% off of your membership for the entire year of 2026. I will catch a break. Coming up next, we've got 2 big dogs fighting in the Big 12. We'll go over some college football storylines. Jordan Bloxham, Adrian Denny later on. Then we'll get to the 5 o'clock hour of the show on a Friday afternoon. Happy Friday to you. Keep it right here on ESPN 700. All right, we're going to bring Jordan Bloxham in to the show today to talk a little PGA Tour and also let you know how you can go get fitted for golf clubs. If you are a golfer and you're looking to get better and you've never done that before, give it a whirl. I did it a couple weeks ago. I have my new clubs in the house now, and should the weather allow this weekend, going to try to get out. The PGA Tour right now is at the Valero Texas Open in preparation for the Masters coming up next week at Augusta. No Tiger Woods, in case you have been living under a rock. He is overseas somewhere. And no Phil Mickelson. First time the Masters have been played without those two, I think, since 2004, if I read that correctly. Bob McIntyre has a 4-shot lead as of now over Ludwig Oberg in this tournament. Where is our guy Tony? Rough day for Tony. He has fallen to 12th. 6 under par, so he's 8 shots off the lead. He was tied for the lead at the end of the round yesterday. So we'll bring in Jordan today to talk some golf. Adrian Denny for the latest on the Utah Mammoth. A couple of straight wins for them. They're back in action tomorrow against Vancouver, 5 o'clock on ESPN+. Porter, have you been following the beef between Cody Campbell and Brett Yormark?
I did see a little bit of the back and forth, but I can't say that I've been intently following it. Catch me up.
Well, first, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Because I've always been this is my belief as how football should work. There's no way this is happening because now we have football games. The NFL at some point will probably play every day, and if they do, they'll get all the eyes. Friday night, high school football. Friday night is high school football, man. It is Friday Night Lights. I believe high school football should be played on Friday. Saturday is college. Sunday's NFL. That's my belief of how this thing should work.
Is that a question?
The question is, what's your belief, Porter?
Not every day. Not every day. But I truly don't hate the fact that whether it's the MAC on a Tuesday or Thursday night football, if you schedule around it properly, you can't have these teams playing a Thursday after they've played on a Sunday. It's got to be around the bye week. I don't hate if you schedule properly having games all the time. I really don't.
You don't. Stop pretending like you watch MACtion.
I mean, if it's a Tuesday night in the middle of November, I'll watch MACtion just as early as I'll watch a second week of the NBA regular season game.
I'll admit to this. One of my favorite watches every year is the FCS championship game.
Yeah.
I love that game.
It's a lot of fun.
You learn a lot about these small schools and some of these players. Anyway, the Big 12 has announced that they're going to schedule Texas Tech Houston on Friday night. Okay. So that's the scheduling announcement. And so this is a West Texas style showdown in the Big 12 between Cody Campbell, who's the chairman of the school's Board of Regents for Texas Tech, and he is the oil money behind Texas Tech and their ascension as to being the best team in the Big 12, period. They've earned it. Sorry, Utah and BYU fans. It's their league right now, and they're one of the best teams in the country. And they've got the number 1 recruiting class in the conference and one of the top 5 recruiting classes and transfer classes in the country again. So Cody Campbell posted on X that the October 18th football game between Texas Tech and Houston is expected to be a Friday night game on Fox, taking issue with playing on a night that Campbell said was sacred for high school football. Here's what he said. Friday Night Lights are sacred in the great state of Texas. It's absolutely absurd that the Big 12 Conference and Fox Sports would consider scheduling Texas Tech and Houston on Friday night. I know that Brett Yormark is not a native Texan, but he's been here long enough to know better. Come on, man. To which Brett Yormark responded to the Lubbock Avalanche Journal, my favorite Avalanche journal. Quote, Cody Campbell does not run the Big 12. Campbell doubled down, poured more fuel on the fire. Another social media post, this was yesterday, pushing back. So the Big 12 banned the tortilla tossing celebrations. You remember the tortilla tossing celebrations?
I did.
Big 12 banned those, okay? So that was at Jerry's World, AT&T Stadium. Tech stopped their fans to ask their fans to stop throwing tortillas, which is a weird sentence to say. And then there was a Joey McGuire, after Texas Tech beat Texas in 2022, a very famous statement, everything runs through Lubbock. Here's what Cody Campbell wrote on X, quote, apparently Brett didn't get the memo in all caps.
Ooh, he's serious.
Calm down, Cody Campbell, in all caps, channeling our current president. Apparently Brett didn't get the memo in all caps. Everything runs through Lubbock. Maybe we should bring the tortillas back. Cody Campbell is threatening to bring back tortillas.
Okay. I think he's kind of silly and going against the play on Fridays thing. Like, you get one or two of those a year. It happens. High school football is big in Utah. You never complained about it when Utah was playing Cincinnati on a Friday night, right? Like, I get it. Your kid plays high school football and you want to go to the game and you want to go do your booster thing on Saturday. But sometimes TV, which is the biggest product in college football, works around that. The negotiation tactic to threaten to throw tortillas on the football field during the course of a football game, I love that. That's my favorite. I don't know if it's a legal tactic or just a power play, but I'm down with it.
Oh, we're not done. We are not finished here, Porter. Okay. Cody Campbell later told ESPN that Yormark's job was not to be, quote, the dictator of the conference. Okay. Quote, as commissioner, he needs to remember that he works for the presidents and the presidents work for the boards. He's not the dictator of the conference. That's not his role. It is his responsibility to advocate for his members in all cases. So that's where we're at this point. Trying to see if there's any response. Oh, okay. Here, Brett Yormark, quote, Friday night Big 12 football games outperformed the conference's average rating by 64% in 2025. All of our schools are treated equally during the TV scheduling process, and this game fits with our scheduling parameters. I am thankful that our TV partners provide us with these opportunities. So if he's got data that the ratings are better on Friday,
yep,
his job is actually to schedule the games where the best ratings will occur.
Regardless of which preparatory school is playing in the area at the time and whose kids may be playing at that school. It's kind of a silly... there are plenty of hills to die on if you're trying to make Big 12 football better. I don't think working against your own self-interest on the Friday games on the TV side really plays into that. Cody Campbell just is going to have to, I don't know, buy a robot so he can be in two places at one time or something.
Also, of note here, TV windows for league games have not been announced yet. So this is not necessarily done. Cody Campbell told the Lubbock Avalanche Journal that he'd heard the game was slated for that date, but he believes it's too late to change it. Said he did not believe in the school's or the league's best interest for Texas Tech is to play on that night, particularly after playing Oregon State in Corvallis on the previous Saturday.
Yeah,
that's a wild data point, Cody Campbell.
Yeah, that's again. It sounds to me like he's got conflicting schedules, and that's not really anyone else's problem besides Cody Campbell. Now, to be clear, he's got as much weight to throw around as you can have in today's age of college football. So we'll see what comes of it. But my assumption is that Texas Tech, like every other Big 12 team, will have at one point on their 3-year schedule rotation a game on Friday, and they'll play it.
Quote, I think Yormark could have gone to bat for us and didn't because, again, he wanted the ratings. I think Fox is not concerned about any individual team. I think, again, they want ratings. So they picked the game that's going to give them the most viewership for that weekend. Yes.
Texas Tech and Houston.
Yes, Cody.
Big deal.
That's what they did. Cody Campbell, of course, was part of Trump's Saving College Sports Roundtable. Did that work, by the way? Is college sports saved?
Well, there was also a related EO, executive order, I think, signed today. So we'll see what happens from it. There are several laws that may or may not get thrown out of court that play into that as well. So I don't know. I don't know that college sports are saved, but maybe we're working in that direction.
Wait, college sports. The name of the roundtable is Saving College Sports. College sports aren't saved?
Maybe not overnight. I don't know.
Is America great again?
Getting there.
Okay. All right.
I'm not so sure.
So the thing about Trump's executive order, and if you watch the roundtable, he even said this himself. He's like, I'll sign it, but we're going to get sued, and it's probably going to get thrown out. That roundtable that was basically called as an excuse for him to be in the same room as famous coaches and football people and no other reason. If you watched it, he said out loud, I guess I'll sign an executive order, but we're going to get sued. It's probably not going to work. He said that himself during that college football roundtable, if you recall.
Yeah, and that's with all of these state institutions and with just the last few years of the college sports world, that's kind of how everything's been, is to play it temporarily, try to run with the rules that are happening at the moment, and then fight about it in court later, which has really been frustrating to watch and really frustrating to follow. So we'll see if we can find any sort of continuity, any sort of like uniformity. I think people would be on board with, and the most, again, I think the most you can do is with the calendar on transfers and whatnot, not trying to limit where and when and how people play.
So in case you missed it, here are just some bullet points. The order was signed this morning, and it's designed to limit how long athletes can play college sports and how often they can transfer between schools. In theory, sure. So the order states that college athletes can play a maximum of 5 seasons during a 5-year window and allows them to transfer schools only once before they graduate without having to sit out a season. A school that pays an athlete who doesn't meet these new limits could risk losing its federal funding. So Dan Murphy wrote a piece here. Multiple lawyers who work with colleges and their athletes told ESPN that they believe judges would rule the president's order to be unconstitutional and unenforceable if challenged in court. So there you go. And like I said, Trump acknowledged that his administration would likely be sued when he first mentioned his plans for an executive order during the roundtable. But he has used the threat of pulling federal funds from universities as both a negotiating tactic and an effort to enforce other policies during his second terms with mixed success. In September, a judge prevented the Trump administration from withholding federal funds from Harvard as a punishment for the university's decision not to comply with an executive order related to alleged anti-Semitic behavior on campus. So he's utilized this tactic to try to get other things passed through, and mixed results at best. So the Trump administration used its executive power to create some change in college sports back in July of 2025. And according to this, it had zero notable impact on how the industry is governed. Because that's what this comes down to. Does Trump have any authority over the ecosystem of college athletics? So I guess this could be a signal to Congress, which actually does have the ability to provide more meaningful change if they can do that. I mean, the fact of the matter is we got about 5.5 years of discussing options and proposing bills, and neither the House or the Senate has held a full vote on any legislation related to college sports. The House has twice delayed a vote on a bill known as the SCORE Act since September, and sources told ESPN that the bill could be amended and reintroduced at some point this month. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Porter, if you remember this, the Republicans came to the table with the SCORE Act, but didn't have the Democratic vote. So the Democrats came up with their own version of the same stuff, called it something else, but didn't have the Republican vote. I mean, this is like everything else in our country. It's just bipartisanship. You can't pass anything.
And yeah, it just goes back and forth, and you don't have the votes to even get it to the floor to debate it. And then, yeah, it just seems like two sides that are, for lack of better words, just not anywhere close to an agreement. Say, like in the sports terms, an agent coming to a negotiation for a contract. It's just they're in different ballparks, and that's kind of the, I guess, as you said, it's kind of encapsulates where we're at. But I do wonder, with how chaotic it's been over the last year or so and how difficult it's been for conference commissioners, university presidents, people who actually do sit in places of regional or market power, it's hit them in the last couple of years. I wonder if that now pushes some change on the other end. So
it looks like, as of now, in the Senate, notable punchable face Ted Cruz and Maria Cantwell are negotiating in hopes of producing a bipartisan bill this spring. That's according to sources on Capitol Hill. Now, the executive order doesn't address employment or other major unresolved issues in college sports, Cantwell is trying to reshape how the schools share the revenue from their television contracts, trying to kind of spread the wealth a little bit. And you know what's interesting about this, as we continue to wait for the details of Utah's private equity deal with Otro Capital, I don't have this on a good authority. I haven't talked to anybody about it. I just kind of surmise that based off of Taylor Randall, who's a very savvy, smart guy, obviously with a business background. You know, the number thrown around, $500 million or whatever it was, how much of that is capital infused from the private equity firm itself? How much of that is money that has been invested from private investors that were allowed to invest in it here in the market? I don't know. But I think on the athletic side, a lot of people were just quick to jump to the conclusion that Utah Athletics was about to get an infusion of $500 million in cash. So go buy players and go pay coaches. Taylor Randall, he has to answer to the entire institution, right? As the president of the school, my guess is, and that kind of seeps into what Cantwell's trying to do to reshape how the schools are sharing the revenue from their TV contracts. As I understand it, she is looking for more money to be spread out across the entire universities as opposed to being funneled into the athletic department. And Taylor Randall has to answer to people in other departments at the University of Utah and folks that are doing other things outside of trying to win football games. How much of that money is going to go towards the unbelievable research they do that actually saves lives? How much of that money is going to go to other departments? How much of it is going to go to the athletic department? How much of it will go to updating facilities, a new reimagined Huntsman Center, upgrades to Rice-Eccles Stadium? And then how much is there to funnel into NIL? You know, all the stuff is kind of tied together. And at least they're talking to try to do something. I mean, you know, I think we all can agree that even though and this is only my opinion, of course, I actually believe that NIL and transfer portal and the changes to college athletics, namely football and basketball, led to a really great on-field product. Television ratings indicate that you guys agree with that. More people are watching college football and college basketball than ever have. You know, the NCAA tournament ratings, I guarantee when they come out, they're going to be through the roof. And obviously ratings equal revenue. So the money's there. But while I do believe that it has led to a great on-field product in a vacuum, the 30,000-foot issues that we all can see pretty plainly still exist. I think the danger, if I bring it back around to a local angle, I think the danger, and we are seeing this a little bit in the NCAA tournament. Our buddy Ken Pomeroy talked about this. We've seen a lot of chalky tournaments. And yes, Illinois is a 3 seed, but UConn's a 2, and then Michigan and Arizona are both 1s. If the issues that continue to plague college athletics aren't corralled a little bit, on the football side, it's going to be the Big Ten and the SEC continuing to separate themselves from everybody else. And if we're honest, they already have. Hence, you know, Witt goes to Michigan. It's not just a Big Ten school. It's obviously Michigan, but you're in the Big Ten footprint. That changes everything. And whether it's the ACC or the Big 12, if you're not in the SEC or the Big Ten, and these things are continued to be allowed, unless you have Cody Campbell type oil money, no shot. No shot at all. The college basketball landscape's a little bit different because, of course, there are so many awesome Big 12 college basketball programs. And it's not as line in the sand as college football would be as far as conference affiliation. But it would be line in the sand as far as program, right? We know this here in Salt Lake with Utah basketball. BYU paid more for one player than Utah did for their entire roster. BYU, by the way, has the second most expensive roster projected for next season, according to On3. So if you don't have Cookie Bro money, if you don't have oil money, hopefully Utah's answer to that is this private equity deal. And this stuff has continued to be, to essentially be unregulated. The danger is the chasm between the top shelf teams and conferences and everybody else. That's the ultimate danger. All right. Do I have a read here? I do. I'm going to encourage you to go look at my bracket and make fun of me. The madness is upon us. Check your bracket on ESPN700sports.com. The ESPN 700, 92 FM $1 Million Bracket Challenge is brought to you by Big Willie's Game Day Men's Health, Intermountain Bobcat, Budweiser, the Intermountain Sportsman's Expo, Burger Fusion, and the Utah RV Super Show. 2 hours down, 2 hours to go. Jordan Bloxham and Adrian Denny. That's your 4 o'clock hour. Keep it right here on ESPN 700. Well, the sun is trying to shine this afternoon after a chilly couple of days that included rain and snow. Mountain Dell just sent me an alert that there's snow on the golf course tomorrow, so I may not be able to go out and play. But I'm pining to play because I have new golf clubs. Do you guys want new golf clubs? Of course you do. Well, you should go through the process of getting fitted like I did with our friends at T-Box in Centerville. Talk a little golf now with my buddy Jordan Bloxham. What's going on, man? Happy Friday.
Hey, happy Friday, Spence. It's been a wild week with all the weather we've had.
Indeed. Are you playing this weekend? Are you going to get out?
I don't know if I'm going to get out. I'll probably try to play a little bit of simulator golf. I just actually hung him up and was playing a practice round. We do a league every week here. And so I was just playing a little practice round and getting some swings in.
There we go. So tell our listeners about T-Box, kind of the origin story, how you guys came up with the idea, and why it's a great spot for people to come up to go through the process I did.
The origin of it was our founder, Preston Unk, during the COVID kind of end of 2020, just got the bug and was also big into fitness. So he kind of put together a hybrid model of fitness and golf where we have a gym inside of it. And as we've developed what we do over the past, it was like 2021 when he opened the first facility in South Ogden. And over the last couple of years, we just refined it and kind of brought a holistic approach to the game and how to get better for everybody, where we look at the body as kind of the leader in that. Then you look at the swing and then also the clubs, which we did that process with you a few weeks back.
We did, and it was quite fascinating. But I've talked about it on air, and I would just encourage people to go to tbx.golf, go tbx.golf/Centerville if you want Jordan to work with you, and Jordan has the reputation of being the best around. You can also call 801-215-9168. How would you articulate what this process is like for just like the average golfer that just wants to get a little bit better and feels like they need new equipment?
So we get you in, right? We test you against your current equipment and just find something that matches your swing, right? So we're getting consistent results, right? Consistent ball flight, consistent shot shape, consistent distance control and dispersion. So you come through, we're going to find something that works best for your swing, right? Whether it may be the clubs that you have, right? We've done that a couple of times where I've just handed the club back to them and said, hey, can't get any better than what you have right now, but at least going through the process and making sure you have the right clubs for what your swing's doing.
And you also offer, there's a gym up there, right? So you guys will take people through like kind of a cater-made exercise routine that is designed specifically to improve your swing, yeah?
Yeah, so when we bring our members in, the first thing we do is we take them through a TPI assessment, which basically shows us how their body moves. And then we're able to create a mobility program from there, and then we can build on that with a strength and conditioning program on top of that as well.
And you offer, I'm not going to say lessons, you offer coaching, because I think a lot of people will go take a lesson or buy like a pack of 3 or whatever, but you work with your clients consistently. Tell me about that process.
Yeah, so we have what's called Box Pro drop-ins. Where after we've kind of built up your thing, right, we take you through the assessment, it gets your TPI, we do your 3D swing analysis, look at your clubs, and then we'll put together a practice program for you, but we don't want to leave you alone with that, like completely, right? We want you to build the habits, but, right, your Box Pro is there to help guide you with, 10 to 15 minute drop-ins when needed. You can do lessons on top of that. They are extra charge lessons if you want a little bit more directed guidance within that. But our model is built on, hey, you come in, we're going to show you how to practice, what to practice, and then we'll help you along with that practice. When we're in, you need to request it, and it's like, say, 10, 15-minute tops, where we go in and just make sure everything's working, the way that we want it to, or whatever tweaks we need to make, adjustments we need to make with the swing or whatever programming that we've dialed in. We're just going to adjust that to where you're at that time.
So you kind of just answered the next question a little bit, but you guys right now are offering free box assessments. Again, tbx.golf/Centerville, 801-215-9168. Jordan, what exactly is this box assessment that you're offering for free to the listeners who give you a call today?
Yeah, so the box assessment is kind of what I mentioned earlier, the TPI screen, which is your body analysis, right? So the first part of it, your body screen. And then we've got your swing analysis, which is the second part of it. And then, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I had the delivery guy come up to me here just real quick. But then we got the swing analysis where we look at your clubs and make sure they're performing with where you're at currently with your swing. So he comes in there. That's kind of the leader into giving that person that comes in an intro to what we do at T-Box, and then we can go in and we talk to them about our memberships and what's available to them past that assessment point.
So what does a membership entail? Let's just kind of get the entire experience out there. You get the box assessment, experience the box assessment, and if they elect to become a T-Box member, what does that entail?
So if they elect to be a T-Box member, you get 24/7 access to your home facility. You can access other facilities as well. There's just a drop-in fee if you want to access any of the other facilities. So you get the Box Pro drop-ins along with our performance membership. So that gives you access to the coach. You get access to all the tech, right? You get access to the mobility programming, the strength and conditioning program, if you want that, right? The swing tips, the practice programming, and then, like I say, 24/7 access to the bays and the gym.
All right, let's get into some Jordan Bloxham tips for golfers out there. Let's say they're just getting started. I mean, the game has blown up so much so I am starting the process of implementing a let's shrink the game social media campaign so I can get tee times and not have 6-hour rounds. But
right.
Let's say somebody's out there, they got the bug, okay, and maybe they're interested in getting some new clubs. But if they're just going to head out to the range, what would you tell them what to do just to kind of make a little progress incrementally?
Like say, focus on the fundamentals first and foremost, right? Make sure your grip's good, make sure your alignment's good, right? Just get kind of those basic fundamentals, and then start with the little stuff, right? So it's just start with the short game, just making good contact, right? Just focus on that. And then when you do go out, and if you do go out to play, right, you said you're starting at the range, hitting some chips, hitting some putts, hitting some shots, right? People always want to go straight to the driver, right? Swing them a little bit, but even when you go out and play, right, hit some, have fun with it, but don't play every shot as it lies would be a big tip that I give all beginner golfers. Just don't play every shot as it lies, right? Grab one. If you hit it, wait, 2 fairways over, right? If you want to go find it, but then take it to your fairway, take it somewhere where it's playable, right? I even tell some of my beginners, hey, if you need to for a little bit, tee it up in the fairway, right? Make it fun. You're out there to enjoy yourself. That's a big thing is a lot of people put too much pressure on themselves to play every shot. And then, right, then we get rounds that take 6 hours.
Yes, here. I'm on board with that. What you've been playing your whole life, yeah?
Yep.
So how would you articulate? Because I, like everybody else, I mean, I played incrementally when I was younger, but like everybody else, during COVID, it was like the thing we could do to see our friends and get outside. And then I realized that my assertion that this was a boring game was completely incorrect, and now I'm incredibly fascinated with it. How have you seen this game grow from your perspective?
I mean, obviously there's been its ups and downs. I mean, I've been playing since I was swinging the club since I was 3. So I've seen kind of where it ran through a little bit of a phase, like right when Tiger hit, kind of a little bump in participation. right? To then going into like that 18, 19, 2018, 2019, where it started to dip a little bit. But then starting there, it's just everybody, right? Everybody saw what I've seen my entire life, right? It's a great game, frustrating as heck, but the funnest thing you can do, right? So I think just when it limited their options to, oh, I can go play golf or I can sit in my house and do nothing, they chose to play golf. And then, like you, they realized, hey, this is not such a bad game after all. And so it's just kind of grown through that. I think the biggest thing that we need to do now is just have some education, or have people get more educated about what the game is and how it, should be played, and just little things that'll help not only, you and I enjoy the game better, who understand it a little bit, but those that are just getting into it, having some knowledge of, etiquette, pace of play, stuff like that. It'll help the entire game. So then if it does continue to grow, it grows in a better way.
When did you catch the equipment bug? Or was it something you just kind of had to lean into in order to get better? Because, of course, better equipment gives you a better chance to be a better golfer.
Some of it. I mean, I messed around with it, playing high school golf, college golf, and then chasing it on the mini tour circuit and stuff like that. I would fiddle with it just to try and see what combinations got me better. And then really leaned into it actually after I stopped playing professionally a lot, where I just understood it a lot more. But just diving in, it's just fascinating to what you can do to a ball flight, changing a head and changing a shaft, and just kind of I geek out on stuff like that.
Curious. So Porter and I, my producer, we have similar stories because we were basketball players. And when, you think you're good at it, right? You think you're good when you're a kid. You think you're good in high school. You're playing AAU. It's like, okay, I'm a good player. And then you play against a pro and you're like, oh, all right, well, I better find a better future plan for myself, because I will not be the starting point guard for the New York Knicks like I thought I would be. For me, it was Shamgod Wells, God Shamgod. He's an assistant coach for the Mavs, played at Providence, played in the NBA. For Porter, it was Dame Lillard. What's the golf equivalent for you? Was there a moment where you were like in a tournament or played against another golfer where you realized like, oh, maybe I really need to lean into building the equipment because I'm not going to be on the tour?
I was stubborn, to be honest with you.
Good for you.
I played against some really good players. I mean, Boyd Summerhays being one before, he was out there for a while, like, and played Robert Garrigus. I don't know if you remember that name back when I was in college. So I played a lot of really good players, and I was still on that level. I was never one to go super low, so I always kind of knew where it was, but I never, at a certain point, I just said, okay, I actually had more of a tough time separating between work and home, that I kind of got caught in between, and it burnt me out. But it's hard. I mean, I got close to the Canadian Tour, qualifying for the Canadian Tour. It was like a shot away from qualifying for that. So I was right there, but I played against some really good players. Played against Tiger Woods down at the Cougar Classic one year, and he put it to me. But that's golf, and it took me a little while to kind of find that. I don't think there was one singular moment that I was like, oh, this person just whooped me, and I need to find something else.
I like that. So how good could you have been if you didn't love your wife and kids?
How good could I have been? Mm-hmm. I think I still would. I probably would have kicked it around like the Corn Ferry.
All right.
On there. So if I would have been able to separate myself and be less drawn to the home life.
So my guess would be, because you played at a really high level, you're never really watching anybody in awe. Is that fair?
Oh no, there's still some people that do. I mean, there's still guys out there, especially now, right? There's way more athletes out there now than there was when I was chasing it. I mean, you got, growing up, we didn't have like Dustin Johnsons. You got, Brooks Koepkas. You got guys now like Dave Barrett, like you look at some of these guys out there now, they could probably play other sports if they wanted to and have. So I think it's just more now you just are in awe of what they can still do with the ball. I mean, I still appreciate the greatness that they produce on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, because I've played more over the past 5 years, whenever I see anybody that's on that level, I am stunned at what they're able to do. I told you the story of they give us media schlubs this cool opportunity to play wherever the state am is. They invite us up to play a couple of weeks before, and then we get to meet some of the golfers, and so we'll cover the tournament. And Easton Folster, my friend, does a very mean thing to me every time. He puts me with the best player, and I feel like he does it intentionally. So last time around, he put me with Steele DeWalt. And I just, first of all, great dude. Had an unbelievably fun time. He was very nice, gave me some good tips. But watching him strike a golf ball is a different thing, And I asked him the same question I asked you, because Steele went through Q school, and he's a little younger than we are. So he played with all the big dogs that are playing right now. And when I asked him, who was the dude coming up that all of you guys were like, yeah, he's got it, I thought he would say Scotty, but he said Xander. And it's not like Xander's had a rough career. He's done just fine, but I found that pretty interesting.
Yeah, like I said, and yeah, I mean, Scotty was under the radar, right? If you look at the start of his career, it was kind of a slow rise, and then now that he's at the top, it's consistent as could be. But yeah, he didn't kind of reach that top. Obviously, he was a great player, right? Played at Texas, right? Had some good things there, but he wasn't that superstar. And even now, if you look at him now, and you look at his game, it's not like super flashy. It's really consistent. He does the right things at the right time. So it's sometimes it's boring, and sometimes you could say Scotty himself is boring, right? Where some of these guys, they do some things that are a little bit more, wow, which is probably what, Steele was seeing in Xander.
So you hear a lot of tips on just simply how to get better, and you kind of gave us some good insight on going to the range. So when it comes to, and look, it is a long, long process. Like improving in this thing, it takes some time. Does it come down to simply learning proper technique and then just going to hit a bunch of shots? Is it as simple as that? Or what would you say as far as the process goes?
Yeah, it's consistency. It's doing the right things at the right time, or for the right time. I messed it up, but consistency, right? Getting a plan, being consistent with that plan, right? And not just, a lot of people will do one thing and they're like, oh, I've got it. Or they'll hit 100 balls and so they find the groove and then they think they've got it, but they don't practice, right? Some of it is making sure you're, dialing in on the fundamentals. That's one thing that we stress here is when you go through practice routine, it's when you warm up your body, you make sure you do the fundamentals, you do your drills that you want to do technique wise, and then you do some other stuff to help, right, improve your game as far as gappings and calibration of all your clubs, and then doing some competition stuff. So it's kind of just having a well-rounded kind of just consistent routine that you do, but it does take time, right? We're not pros. We don't have 8-9 hours a day to kind of make these changes that these pros do. And even guys like that, we've got a relationship here with Nick Faldo, and he said when he went through his swing change, it didn't click for 2 years. Right? And same thing with a lot of these guys. They may be going through, and obviously their skill level is elite, so they can get through some of these swing changes and make them look like they're okay, but they don't feel comfortable with them for quite a while on a lot of this stuff. But that's just continual repetition that gets them through that. And that's where I think a lot of golfers and just in general just lack with the consistency in their practice of what they're doing.
Yeah. No, for sure. And the nice thing about what you guys have, because we are a seasonal golfing state, this year was a little bit different as I was playing in February with a couple from Hong Kong who had scheduled a ski trip to Park City and came here with no snow. But the nice thing about you guys, it's 24/7 access all year, right? So even when the snow's on the ground, you can come in and get some swings.
You can come in and get some swings. And I was just telling one of our members today, I'm like, hey, I want to see you play 3-4 times a week in the summer. And I'm like, use us as that tool to stay consistent, so you still are keeping your consistency with your routine, and so you can keep playing that better golf, right? Because I've seen it where I get off there and I get off my routine and I'm playing a lot, some things will start to slip, and I'll start falling into some of my traditional habits, right, with my alignment and with different, swing things that'll pop in. But if I'm not continually working on it, then they'll just kind of start to drift one way or the other. But I think that's one thing that people need to understand is that you need somewhere you can practice and have the feedback year round, right? It's great to keep the rust off in the winter for sure, but it's also really good just to keep that and maintain that consistent program that you've been working on all winter, and keep that through the summer months as well.
Let me ask you about Tony Finau, our local guy. And, once upon a time, it felt like, and maybe, look, there's so many stories of golfers who struggle for a few years and then suddenly come back and they're at the top of their game. He's having a week so far. He's tied for 11th after leading the tournament yesterday. Bob McIntyre looks like he might run away with the thing. Let me ask you this. When he's winning tournaments, when he's competing and he's atop the leaderboard, what is he doing? And when he's struggling, tell me what you see.
It comes down to, and people will say putting, but when he putts good, he's gonna win tournaments, right? But I think lately it's come down to his ball striking has just been a little off. He's always been, and that's what's kept him up at the top, is his ball striking, right? Ball striking, approach shots. He's always been the top in that category. And so when that is, and I feel like that's kind of what slipped is kind of that ball striking part of his game, right? And he's never been like a top tier putter, but he's been a top tier ball striker. And when that ball striking is dipped, that's where I think his fall has come from, is just a little bit of dip in that ball striking. But that could be, like I said, when Paul talked about it earlier, with his injury. I mean, if he was fighting that for, a few months, that's going to definitely affect that ball striking.
Who you got at Augusta next week? Who do you like?
Well, I'm not sure. It's been a really wild year. There's been, I think, we've had 5 or 6 straight tournaments where it's been a different winner, right? Scotty hasn't looked really great. Rory hasn't looked really great, and they've taken a couple of weeks off. Rory's a little bit injured. I actually like a Euro to win it. I'm leaning like a Fleetwood, Justin Rose. I really like those two as being contenders in that.
All right, buddy. Well, look, Jordan Bloxham, T-Box in Centerville. Go to tbx.com/Centerville. They're offering free box assessments if you call them today. Tell me you heard Jordan on the show. Ask for Jordan because he's the best. You may not be able to get him. Give him a call at 801-215-9168. That's 801-215-9168. Thanks, dude. Let's chat soon, okay?
No problem. Thanks, man.
All right, Jordan Bloxham. Again, go to tvx.golf. They're offering my listeners a free box assessment. I did it a couple of weeks ago. It is a fascinating process. And I got new clubs. They're at the house, and they're giving you great deals right now at 801-215-9168. That's 801-215-9168. Time now for your Uinta Golf PGA update. Swing into Uinta Golf by Worldwide Golf Shops to get custom fit for the new Ping G440K driver. It's the new standard and straight with dual carbon fly wrap and a faster face. It's Ping's highest MOI. Most forgiving driver ever at uintagolf.com. The PGA Tour is preparing to descend upon Augusta for the Masters next week. But for now, they're at the Valero Texas Open in San Antonio, where Bob McIntyre leads the group by 4 shots. He's 14 under par. Ludwig Oberg is second at 10 under par. Then it's Bud Cauley, Kevin Roy, Alex Smalley. Smalley's now at 8 under par. So Cauley and Roy are at 9 under. Tony Finau, after leading the group yesterday, he did just birdie 16. So he's 1 under for the day. He's 7 under for the tournament. That's good for tied for 11th with Tommy Fleetwood. So Tony playing some good golf. All right, we'll catch a break. The latest on the Utah Mammoth coming up on the other side with Adrian Denny right here on ESPN 700. All right, we got some breaking news. Luka Doncic is out for the rest of the regular season, which means he is ineligible for MVP, also ineligible for All NBA. It's going to cost him money. I mean, we talked earlier with Howard Beck about this rule. His agent is speaking out. My guess is they're going to file a grievance. Luka missed 2 games earlier this year for the birth of his child. There's actually this loophole in pro basketball where you're able to file a grievance with this new thing. You got to play 65 games. Luka's on 64. So we'll kind of see how that goes. We'll get back to this in the 5 o'clock hour, but it's time now for the portion of the program where I get to learn about what I will talk about Sunday night on the hockey show. As Adrian Denny, my guy, stops by. Happy Friday, man. How are you?
Happy Friday to you, Spence. Thanks for having me, man.
Okay, so I'll be Adam Miklich and you be me. Okay, here we go. What's the most positive thing going on right now with the Utah Mammoth having won 3 of their last 5 games?
Everything. Back-to-back 6-2 wins, but Spence, the power plays rolling. It's 8 for the last 15. The penalty kill is the best in the NHL since March 15th at 21 for 22. They've scored 4 goals or more in 6 of their last 8 games. They've got 6 20-goal scores, which leads the NHL, and Karel Vejmelka back-to-back solid performances. So the Mammoth went into Saturday in L.A. with 9 games left in the regular season, and I don't think it really would have affected them one way or the other, whether they won 6 of 9 or lost 6 of 9 in terms of playoff positioning, really. But you just want to go in, with some momentum, with some positive energy, feeling good, or else you're quickly going to be down 2-0 in a series on the road, and it's going to be lights out. So the team, after an interesting month of March where they led in 14 of the 15 games, but they went 7-6-2, they just couldn't hold on to a lead. And it's not anything that really surprises me in the month of March when a team who's playoff bound, who's pretty much solidified in their spot, hits a couple bumps in the road, just because you know where you're at. It's getting sunny, it's getting warm. The playoffs are upcoming, and you're playing teams that are trying to get above the playoff line and trying to play for their seeding. So the Mammoth really for the last couple of months have been one of maybe 2 or 3 NHL teams that have known exactly where their spot's going to be in. For Utah, it's that first wild card. So nice win last night in Seattle, down 2-0, scoring 6 straight and really taken over. When it was 2-0, you're like, oh, gosh, can we get this going here? And then Logan Cooley scored his first, then he scored his second after the Mammoth coaching staff got another call overturned on the ice. They're 9 for 10 this year in challenging reviewable plays on the ice, which is second in the NHL. Only Toronto's had 11 plays overturned one way or another. So, yeah, everything the last couple of games has been pretty perfect. They called Saturday a blueprint game in terms of that's the game we want to play every night. And you're not going to win every game 6-2. The NHL is kind of engineered to be a 1-goal game in the third or tied if both teams are playing well. And sometimes you're going up against a team that lets in a couple soft goals or isn't skating or both, and you can go out and take it to them versus dropping down to that level, getting comfortable, and winning 6-5 in a shootout. So, yeah, good couple games here for Utah, and I think it really sets the tone nicely now going into the final 7 games.
I'm writing all this down just so you know, so I can say this exactly on Sunday night. Let me take it on the other end. Any area of concern as we inch closer and closer to the end of the regular season? What would you like to see buckled up a bit, Adrian, prior to the postseason?
Yeah, I think let's look at leading games from tape to tape. While March was what it was, you've played teams like Edmonton where you've had leads in 3 of the 5 games against them over the last 2 years, and you haven't won any of those. And Edmonton's very possibly going to be the first-round matchup. They're tied with Anaheim right now for first place in the Pacific. They've kind of come out of nowhere. They've won 5 straight. And the Ducks do have a game in hand, so they can jump up 2 points ahead of Edmonton again tonight with a win against St. Louis. But, man, the Mammoth have led in all but about 18 games that they've played this year. So it's been a team that hasn't held every lead that they've gotten, having led in almost 80% of their games. So get a lead, take it from tape to tape. And before we talk about that kind of sticky March where things didn't hold in terms of jumping up 1-0 or leading 2-0, they had a double-digit stretch where they scored first and they never trailed. So for me, get back to what they've been doing the last couple of games, and that's grab a game, get control of it, take it from there, and don't let the opposition stick around.
As of now, it looks like they're going to take on Anaheim. I mean, as of now, and I guess that could change. So talk about that potential matchup, and is there another potential matchup out there that could manifest itself where Anaheim is in the standings?
Anaheim is the matchup that you want, just based on their team, right? They haven't made the playoffs in 7-8 years. They're a young team like Utah, but they've also got some really good playoff veterans sprinkled on their roster like Utah. And I think the Mammoth like the matchup with Anaheim. They've only lost to them in regulation once over the last 2 seasons. And I think that's much more favorable than the other option, which is the Oilers, who have gone to the Stanley Cup final in 2 straight games. And when they wake up, watch out. We saw it happen in the first round of the playoffs last year. It took that long. They were down 2-0 in the series to LA. They were a couple minutes away from being down 3-0. They were a couple minutes away from being down 3-1, and they just kind of took over. So the matchup with Edmonton is one that Utah has struggled with, but it's also a team that's pretty seasoned in terms of playoff experience. And Vegas is another possibility. They'd have to hop both Edmonton and Anaheim, but they've got a game in Edmonton tomorrow night to watch out for. And if they win that game, they're 3-0 under their new coach, John Tortorella, and they're all of a sudden within a point or two of taking over the Pacific Division. Vegas has been a team that Utah's played pretty well. And I really thought there was something wrong with Vegas when the Mammoth played them a couple weeks ago and shut them out 4-0. There was something off. And, a coaching change can tilt things. And they've beaten Vancouver and Calgary, 2 of the worst teams in the NHL since John Tortorella took over. But Vegas is a team that Utah's played pretty well with. But again, it's a team that Utah's held leads against. And when they haven't won, it's because they've blown leads. But I think Vegas is another matchup that's okay. But it's another team that's got playoff experience that you don't have right now, which is why I like the Anaheim matchup. And realistically, it's going to be a Mammoth team for me. Qualify for the playoffs and stretch it out as long as you can and get as much experience as you can and learn as much as you can so that next year you're going in and you're a top 3 team in the Central Division and you're really focused on making that next step.
How healthy are they? Everyone good at this point, or any health concerns?
One concern last night, Jack McBain blocked a shot in the second period. There's not been any word on him, but the team has called up Kevin Rooney from the American Hockey League. He's an NHL veteran of over 300 games. That's why they signed him right when camps broke, and he got waived by New Jersey to have him as a depth option. He scored a goal in his only game, but they did make that move earlier this afternoon. So McBain is out. Another centerman, Barrett Hayton, has now missed 3 straight games. That's a player that's listed as week to week. So a couple guys that don't always show up on the box scores, but they win faceoffs. Jack McBain is always in the top 5 in the NHL in hits, and Barrett Hayton's pretty steady out there. You can put him net front on the power play, have him on the penalty kill. So those are 2 guys, both centermen, which is probably one of the deeper areas for Utah, which is good. When Alexander Kerfoot and Logan Cooley came back after the Olympic break, the Mammoth had 6 natural centermen in their lineup of 12 skaters when you need 4 centermen. So depth is something that the Mammoth, plan to head for, and they've got it right now. And unfortunately, with under 10 games left in the season, they lose both Hayton and Jack McBain, who left last night, didn't return. And again, no word on it, but they did call up Kevin Rooney from Tucson earlier today.
You ever been hit with a hockey puck?
No, I haven't.
Dude. So I
have not.
So good.
They keep those things in freezers, man. Like, so you've got the galvanized rubber. So if that's not enough, they're coming right out of a freezer to play with, just so they're not bouncing all over the ice. So, and gosh, you got guys like Ian Cole who are in the top 5 in the NHL year after year in blocking shots, and you're just like, gosh, it's we all have our jobs here, and some of them, are a lot less commanding in terms of putting our bodies in jeopardy than being the guy out there diving to block a shot to keep a 1-goal lead in the third period.
So I went to a very excellent hockey high school, translation, mostly white kids. And I was at a game in the stands, and I wasn't paying attention. I was talking to my girlfriend, and suddenly I thought I had been shot. A puck came out of nowhere and hit me in the shin. I don't know that I've ever had that much pain in my entire life. I'm not built to be a hockey player, Adrian.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Nick Olczyk got hit with one between the benches last year, and it was when Nick was dealing with another medical situation at the time, and it just kind of added some insult to injury. He turned and just got hit right in the behind with the puck, because you're right in the middle of it. I know head coach Andre Turney, I remember a couple times this year, has really had to bust a move to get out of the way. But yeah, that's one thing about being up in the press box, being the eye in the sky, if you will. Thank goodness we're not dodging that stuff, because it doesn't feel good. And you've seen coaches get hit in the face before. Roy Summer, who was a longtime Sharks AHL coach, got hit in the nose, and it broke his nose, and he was on the bench with that bandaging for a while. So yeah, you admire the guys that are out there blocking frozen galvanized rubber, as Andre Turney called it last week, the little thing.
Oof, man. What's your hockey origin story? What's your background? How'd you learn to love the sport the way you do?
Just being a sports fan. Growing up in Salt Lake, my first Golden Eagles game, my dad took me to. I was in 3rd grade at the Salt Palace, and growing up a Jazz fan, and then kind of went to that game, kind of picked up on hockey and rooting for the Utes and the Trappers and the Buzz and the Stingers and the Bees. And for me, growing up in Salt Lake, I never really had a major pro team outside of the Jazz to root for. I tried the Rockies. I tried the Broncos. I tried the Diamondbacks. Nothing really hit for me. And I followed our local teams. And so, listening to Jazz games with Hot Rod, and if they weren't playing, I'd throw the Grizzlies game on and listen to Steve Klauke all summer. And I just a diehard sports fan, and you never know where opportunities are going to pop up. And for me, my junior year of college, there was an internship with the Grizzlies, and I got hired to be a group sales intern, and I had no idea what that was, and just kind of got involved. And 2 hours into it, the radio broadcaster walked in and sat down at his cubicle, which is right where they stuck me, and he needed some help in the press box, needed another body. And so I'm like, well, I can do that. And one thing led to another. They eventually put me on the air doing pregame, intermission, and postgame shows. And then at one of our former stations, Spence, was working there as well, and started producing Grizzlies games, which led to more on-air stuff. And then at 23, was fortunate to become play-by-play announcer for the Grizzlies. And it's great. It's great life. And yeah, here we are. Had an opportunity to join the then Coyotes organization, and 6 years there, and then the NHL comes here, and just fortunate again to get hired. And that's pretty much it. But it just all kind of comes down to just being a lifelong diehard sports fan of anything that was going on. And And for me, the closer to, Utah and Salt Lake it was, the easier it was to get connected and become a fan. But lots of luck and lots of coincidences, and I'm really, really fortunate.
Very cool. Love that. I went down to the Jazz game the other night, Jazz Nuggets, and I was able to spend about 20 minutes with Ryan Smith. I'm telling you that because I'm a name dropper. And we talked Jazz for a little bit, but he's so juiced about the way this thing is transpired, the way it's gone. Even Ryan and Ashley, I think they would admit that they're drinking through a fire hose with the way all that went down. And, we had Gary Bettman on the show the week of the announcement. I'm not sure how many people understand what an undertaking that was and how quickly to get it turned around. But now that we have a few years behind us, I think it's nothing short of an extraordinary accomplishment. And there are so many people behind the scenes. And Ryan was admitting this. He said, I had to ask people that were just working for the Jazz, like, okay, now we need you to add this to your plate. And obviously they've been able to add to the staff over the past couple of years. But it is pretty remarkable, Adrian, what they've been able to do in just a short time and just how many people in this community have rallied behind this team.
When Ryan Smith is talking, and he's said it a lot about the endeavor to bring the NHL to Utah, and he'll say, we had an idea, we had a concept, and we decided to go with it. And along the way, we learned a lot and we made some mistakes, but here we are. And it seems like, for everything that he's involved in, that's the story. And I just love it. It's taking a dream, it's following it, it's going for it, and it's making stuff happen in every aspect. And it's the NHL, it's the Delta Center, the Jazz. It's so awesome. And we've got the five keywords of SEG, and all in is one of the five, and scrappy, transparent, community obsessed. Like it's who he is. It's who everybody is that's there. It's an unbelievable place to work and an unbelievable culture. And I know I missed one of the five. Scrappy, community obsessed, one team, transparent, all in. So those are the five buzzwords for SEG, and it just couldn't be any more awesome, because everybody over there that we work with and that supports us is 100% all in on all five of those things. And man, Ryan and Ashley Smith, and what the stuff that they envision and go for is just so cool.
Yeah, I was raised by a bit of a visionary, and so it's one of those deals where when they come to the table with an idea, you're like, wait, what? No, like, no, like that. No one believes you can make that happen. Like, I can remember when my father said, look, we're going to bring Real Madrid over to Utah, and we're going to play we're going to scrimmage them. We're going to play them, and we're going to do it at Rice-Eccles Stadium. We're like, how exactly do you propose we go about doing that, right? And then to watch a vision crystallize because you need a guy like that. You need a guy, and he's my dad, so I can say this. You need a guy where everyone else is kind of like, hey, is he okay? What's going on over there? To come to the table with the audacious idea, and then you need so many people behind the scenes to kind of step up and do their job in their lane. And I don't mean to catch you off guard, but let's give some credit to some people that maybe the community doesn't know about, as far as, the people behind the scenes every day to execute logistically what needs to be executed in order to make the visionary's dream crystallize.
Well, you got Jamie Galileo, who's a big part of the operations of the Delta Center and the Utah Mammoth Ice Center, and the stuff that they've done in that arena over the years, and fine-tuning it again. it's amazing. Like when I got back here a year and a half ago and walked into the Delta Center, it was not like, it felt like a brand new building to the place I'd been in 100 times since I was a kid growing up over the last, 35, 36 years. So you got Jamie and the Mammoth Ice Center went up in record time. And you had a gentleman named Pat Murphy, who was a big part of the operational aspect of that from a hockey standpoint, having, worked with Bill Armstrong and getting, okay, this is what we want. This is what we need. So just those two guys with facilities and putting stuff up overnight is remarkable. But that's the great thing about Ryan is it's just, everything's just so contagious. And if that's not you, you're not gonna fit. You're not gonna last if you're not just 100% going 100 miles an hour with looking down at what's next. What are we going to do here to take that next step in everything? And it's every single person. Every place I've ever worked has been phenomenal. And here it's just another level in the terms of the people there supporting you, right? Jeremy Potter, our chief engineer at the Delta Center, that helps us, get on the air every night when we're doing an NBA show on TV and radio and an NHL show on radio and TV and Spanish radio for the Jazz all at one time, when 2 years ago we're doing basketball. And now we've added hockey and the logistics that go with that, the Delta Center, and putting it on the air. So everybody is cut out of the same cloth, because you just couldn't last if you weren't. You'd get left behind and embarrassed.
One of the other really cool things, I don't think he'd mind me sharing this, is there's so many owners in pro sports. Like Jim Dolan, who owns Madison Square Garden, literally. So Chuck Dolan, listeners won't care about this, but Chuck Dolan, his father, brought Cablevision to the Northeast and just made boatloads of money. Instead of just flushing his kids with cash, he asked them, what business do you want me to buy for you? And Jim was like, I want the Garden. So he essentially was handed the Garden, and he has no frame of reference for how important it is to people that place is something that it really hasn't been in forever. Ryan shared with me, he said, my wife was raised in a 3-bedroom apartment in Las Vegas. I was raised in a family where our parents were divorced and we had nothing. He said, so this is just fun. Like what I'm doing, he's I don't know how many people know this about him. He seems to be genuinely grateful that he's in the spot that he's in. And with all of the pressure that's on him, like pressure is being raised in a fractured household. Pressure is being raised without anything. Pressure is running a tech company for 20 years. What he's doing now, as far as how he's expressed it, he seems just to be having fun. And in a landscape of sports that a lot of people just take it for granted, it's just kind of a breath of fresh air,
Yeah, it's great. And it's all from the heart. It's all genuine. It's all for Utah. And I don't know. I'm probably speaking out of turn here. For me, it's not pressure for SEG. It's an opportunity to go make something happen that you want to achieve because you want to do it. Number one, and life experiences, it makes you who you are. Like for me, being in the minor leagues for 2 decades, I wouldn't change 1 second of it. And all the different scenarios you're in and out trading for food, for team meals and haggling to get hotel trade. And the stuff that you got to do to get through the day so that you can keep everything above water. And then you get to a point like this for me that I'm very fortunate. And it's Yeah, but it's all because of those days during training camp when I'm setting up 3 meals a day for the Grizzlies and putting 6 guys into hotel rooms that we don't have because our apartments are full and everything in town is full, and you just got to figure out a way. And I say that because what you just shared about Ryan and Ashley, it puts you in a different frame of mind for what you have to do just to get through the day.
Yeah, well said. Hey, before I set you loose, how wide are you allowing your mind to go as far as what they can do this year? It's really hard to go from rebuild, step by step rebuild, make the playoffs, and then do something other than maybe compete in the first round. But in this league, stuff like that does happen. That makes it different than pro basketball. Best case scenario, Mammoth in the playoffs. Adrian, sounds like what?
Conference finals.
Okay.
If they get that matchup with Anaheim, I think you can win it, and then you're going to play Edmonton or Vegas, which is going to be a huge challenge. But as you said, you can get hot. Like Karel Vejmelka can play like he has in spurts this year, and the Mammoth can win a special teams battle in a game and find a way to chip through these things. It's absolutely no doubt in my mind that they could get to the conference finals. For me, Spence, I am very process-based. You can tell that I've been in the same organization as Bill Armstrong since he started in 2020 in terms of, taking it one step at a time. For me, for the Mammoth, qualifying for the playoffs and stretching the first round series as long as you can, to me, that's the next step. But of course, they can absolutely win a series. They can win another series. They could get to the conference finals, because in hockey, when you get hot and you're going, and their D are as good as any 6 defensemen you're going to find in the NHL, and the forwards are a little unexperienced in terms of playoffs, but where they make up for it is just with ridiculous skill. As I said, the only team in the NHL to have 6 players with at least 20 goals. So for me, in terms of the process, what is a realistic goal from being on the outside looking in last year to having a chance to qualifying for the playoffs this year? It's stretch the first round series as long as you can, with the understanding that don't be surprised if they upset a team in the first round. If it's Anaheim, I'm not sure how much of an upset it is. Upset a team in the second round and find themselves in the conference finals with Colorado.
Man, that'd be something else. I'll tell you what, Adrian, where can people go get your work, bud?
You can find us on Mammoth Daily every day, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Utah Mammoth YouTube page. Mammoth Plus, at least 30 minutes every day with Mike Foltz, our radio play-by-play announcer, and I just talking Mammoth. Different show every day, instant reaction after every game. We do something different, keep it fresh. Tuesday mailbag, Wednesday odd man rush, Thursday expert, Friday free for all. We're back on the Monday morning power play, and then Spence on SEG Media, Hockey Night in Utah. We've got every game for you starting an hour before face-off, and our post-game show can, you know how these go, can go as long as we need to be there, Spence.
My man. Hey, thanks for the time, my friend. Be well. We'll chat soon, okay?
Thanks, Spencer. Have a good weekend, man. We'll see you on Sunday night with Adam.
There you go. Adrian Denny. Give him a follow. It's the best Mammoth podcast in Utah. You can find the links to his work at 801 Adrian Denny is where you find him. All right, got 3 hours down, 1 hour to go. Final hour of the program on a Friday is next right here on ESPN 700. All right, Drive at 5 time, Friday afternoon style, 11 minutes past the hour, 5 o'clock. Chilly day today. The sun is shining, though, here in the 5 o'clock hour. The weather will warm up a little bit throughout the course of Saturday and Sunday. Happy Friday to you. Happy weekend to you. Congratulations, weekend time. You made it, showed up, did all the things you needed to do, and hopefully you have something fun planned. Should be nice enough to get outside. Kind of a randomly busy news day today. Let's go over a couple of things just in case you missed it. Tommy Lloyd got a 5-year contract extension to stay at Arizona. Of course, Arizona will take on Michigan tomorrow. Jam-packed sports weekend ahead that features the Final Four. Donald Trump did sign the executive order in the world of college athletics that he talked about during the roundtable a few weeks back. Valero Texas Open going on in the PGA Tour. In the NBA landscape, I'm just realizing this. I believe every game tonight features one team trying to win and one team trying to lose. Chicago's in New York to take on the Knicks. That game tips off in about 20 minutes. The Jazz are in Houston to take on the Rockets. Pacers Hornets going on right now. So for the unfamiliar, Chicago is trying to lose. New York is trying to win. The Rockets are trying to win. The Jazz are trying to lose. The Hornets are trying to win. The Pacers are trying to lose. I don't know what Philly's doing. Maybe there's one game tonight, and that's between the T-Wolves and the Sixers. The Hawks are trying to win, but the Nets are trying to lose. The Raptors are trying to win, but the Grizzlies are trying to lose. Celtics trying to win. Milwaukee trying to lose. The Magic are trying to win, not doing a great job of it. And the Mavericks are trying to lose. And your nightcap, kids, features the Pelicans and the Kings. Whew. I'm just realizing the situation with the NBA. That's pretty wild. So, yeah, Jazz in action tonight. It's a night off for the Mammoth. They're back in action coming up. They're going to take on Vancouver tomorrow at 5 o'clock Mountain Time on ESPN+. Just had a fun conversation with Adrian Denny. The Mammoth are more or less in the playoffs. It would take a massive, massive spike in the wrong direction. Looks like they're going to take on Anaheim. There's a chance they will take on the Oilers, and then Vegas in the mix as well. But looks like the Mammoth are going to make the postseason. So we talked about this a little bit earlier. Let's go over, if you're a college football fan, and chances are if you're listening to the show, you are. Here are a few notes on the NCAA-related executive order that Trump signed this afternoon. Okay, so the order directs the NCAA to create rules that limit eligibility, which would be 5 years, and limit transfers, which would be 1 prior to graduation. But it does not say that the NCAA is exempt from legal challenges to these rules. That's very important because Trump himself, during the roundtable, was kind of dismissive, was like, yeah, I'll sign it, but we're going to get sued. Not sure if it's going to work. I mean, that's essentially what he said. The order says the Department of Education should decide if violations to the rules and other, quote, improper financial activities related to how athletes are paid are grounds for taking away federal funds. It doesn't say that a school will definitely lose federal funds for violations. So the order isn't meaningless, but its biggest impact is a signal to Congress that the president wants them to act and provide some specifics on how they should act. So, again, Trump himself said he was going to sign it, but didn't really feel like it was going to be very effective because it will be challenged in court like everything else as it pertains to what the NCAA has been trying to do over the past few years. But the executive order has been signed. Okay, and so those are the biggest kind of key takeaways. It's just looking to limit how long you can stay in college and play sports and how many times you can transfer. So Charlie Baker was a media availability in Phoenix before the women's Final Four. Said, quote, there are a bunch of things in there that are pretty consistent with the things we've been talking to them and to Congress about. We need congressional action to sort of seal the deal on a number of these things, which is good because we do, and getting a bipartisan agreement, well, good luck with that. On a number of those issues would be a really big thing. Based on my own conversations with a lot of Democrats and Republicans in Washington over the course of the past month or two, I do think there's a lot of common ground going on right now. So we'll see. The major players at this point in the Senate, Ted Cruz on the Republican side of things and Maria Cantwell on the Democratic side of things, are reportedly actively negotiating in hopes of producing this bipartisan bill this spring, according to sources on Capitol Hill. So both the Democrats and Republicans have brought their own kind of just created bill individually, but the Republicans can't get the Democrats to vote for theirs, and the Democrats can't get Republicans to vote for theirs. So that's essentially where we're at. So a lot of Democrats have, and I've talked about this before, and I actually believe this to be true. Employment and collective bargaining is the best route to finding a sustainable future for college sports. The employment debate is one of the largest obstacles to reaching a compromise, is what I'm reading now. Cantwell said this, quote, "This executive order identifies some of the key issues facing college sports, including continued funding for women's and Olympic sports. Congress should continue to have bipartisan discussions about how to increase revenue to meet these goals. I'm glad to know the president wants Congress to pass something." So Cantwell has talked a lot about the desire to reshape how schools share the revenue from television contracts. The executive order does not address employment or other major unresolved issues. And Cantwell has talked about this for a long time. As far as the TV revenue that's generated, she wants the revenue as far as the pie to be distributed a little bit more to Olympic sports and women's sports. That's her thing. She wants to maintain Olympic sports and women's sports. She does not want that collateral damage. On the other side, you know, the Republican side of this, again, Ted Cruz in the Senate, more along the lines of, you know, funneling the majority of the revenue to where the revenue is generated, namely football and basketball. So, look, we'll see. As we discussed earlier on the show, I am of the belief that the things that a lot of people find uncomfortable about what's happened with collegiate athletics has actually led to a higher quality product in a lot of ways. But unless there are guardrails put in place, as this executive order outlines a few of them, the danger, and certainly from a local angle, is if you're not a college football team in the Big Ten or the SEC, and you're not a college basketball program with major Cody Campbell oil money or Cookie Bro money in Provo, you're in danger of being on the wrong side and losing the ability to compete at a high level. I mean, the NCAA tournament is an example. Illinois is a 3 seed, UConn a 2, then you got 2 number 1s. And then the college football playoff is comprised mostly of SEC teams and Big Ten teams. That's just the reality of the thing. All right, NBA draft. The NFL announced today that it concluded its own investigation into the Chiefs' wide receiver Rashee Rice situation, stating that, quote, he is not engaged in conduct that violates the personal conduct policy. He was accused by his ex-girlfriend, Dakota Jones, of some pretty gnarly stuff, man. So I've talked about this for years. It's this issue. The NFL gets this wrong all the time. The NFL gets the domestic abuse stuff wrong all the time. She posted photos on her Instagram account where she had a bunch of bruises. Looked like she had been knocked around. I mean, look, obviously I'm not a lawyer. I'm not in the middle of litigating this stuff. But the NFL, as far as the history of their handling of such situations, you can Google Greg Hardy kids if you're interested. Ray Rice and such. Not really a leg to stand on here. All right, got to get you one more Uinta Golf PGA update. Swing into Uinta Golf by Worldwide Golf Shops to get custom fit for the new Ping G440 driver. It's the new standard in straight with dual carbon fly wrap and a faster face. It's Ping's highest MOI, most forgiving driver ever at uintagolf.com. Our local guy, Tony Finau, was tied for the lead after round one. Tony actually did birdie 16. So he's in the clubhouse at 7 under. That's tied for 11th. Bob McIntyre, 14 under. Ludwig Oberg, 10 under, and then Bud Colley, Kevin Roy at 8 under. Alex Smalley, Andrew Putnam, Stephen Fisk, John Perry, Sam Ryder, all at 8 under par. Tommy Fleetwood is also with Tony at 7 under. So there you go. PGA Tour will descend upon Augusta next week. We're going to have some good Masters coverage for you from that, with potentially a new Masters theme song that I tasked my producer with heisting. Any update on our potential Masters theme song for next week?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, just trying to find a way to do it legally.
Didn't realize I was asking you to break the law.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to, under FCC guidelines, what we play on the radio is particular. And now that we're on the YouTube, they'll rip your rights like instantly if you play the wrong stuff. You gotta be careful with the YouTube stuff.
All right, good knowledge there. I'm cold. I don't know why. I'm wearing a jacket.
Getting sick.
Yeah, don't say that. Do not speak that evil into existence, Porter.
Could be.
I'm not. It's cold in the studio, but I can't complain because I'm the one that bitches about the air conditioning being off.
This is true. If it is a little warm in there, you have no issue with it. So now that you're cold, it's like you're in the house, newlyweds, maybe not newlyweds. You've been here a while, arguing about the thermostat, and you can never quite get it right.
Yeah, I considered texting Jackie to be like, "Hey, can you turn the AC off?" But I'm sure she'd be like, "What is wrong with you? Am I a diva?" Don't. I set you up as my friend,
and you didn't want me to answer. I'll just leave it there.
I set you up as my friend. Answer the question. Am I a bit of a diva?
Sometimes.
Give me one example besides the air conditioning. You can't.
I've seen your dog. No, I was going to say I've seen your dog wearing clothes, but I don't think I have.
No, I do not dress Duke up. Duke had a rough morning. Duke believes that it's playtime at 3:30 a.m. But here's the problem. Like he runs into the room. It's actually very cute because he puts his paws up on the bed. What's not cute is that it's 3:30 a.m.
Right.
But if I don't let him out, there's a chance that I'm waking up to something I need to clean up in the home. So I'd rather go outside at 3:30 a.m. and avoid the risk. Because, look, if you've never cleaned up dog poop, I don't think I've ever said poop in my life. It's not a cute, like, oh, look, the puppy. It smells, and ultimately you never really recover. I've thrown out so many sheets, carpets. I don't clean it. I throw it out because they have that stuff. They're like, hey, here's a spray that works. No, it smells like orange poop after you try that.
Yeah.
So I want to avoid that. So I let him out. But then he just sits there and waits for me to come play with it. I'm like, dude, it's 3:30. Come back in. And then this morning got too excited about his pup cup and knocked it out of my hand. Now there's whipped cream all over the car.
So Duke is not necessarily in the doghouse. He's just, he's playing puppy.
Just needs to reel it in a little bit.
Yeah.
I wouldn't accept that behavior from a human.
He's a diva.
Duke is a diva. There's no doubt.
If you leave him out the door just for a few minutes, he starts crying, like a little baby.
Yeah, he is. He is. He. I don't know what you call it, but he hates being alone. I think most dogs do. But every time I leave, if he's not coming with me, I can hear him crying through the door.
Well, you've now enabled.
I know. There's no going back. He's 5 now. It is what it is.
He comes to the studio and gets treats and snacks and pets, all the attention in the world. Now you can't leave him home or he's going to react accordingly.
Nope, there's no doubt. Final Four tomorrow. So I picked Arizona to win the tournament. I can't go back now. If I was picking now, I think Michigan is playing better basketball. I'm leaning Illinois. UConn, they just have this thing, man. They believe to win in March. What do you think about the games?
No, I'm with you. I picked Arizona as well, and I think that's the team it's the best team in college basketball in 2026. But as you mentioned, Michigan has had the most impressive tournament, and sometimes it is about when you peak, and they seem to be doing so now. So I think that is going to be a dogfight. I think it's in some ways it feels like our national championship game. The winner of that game may go on to beat either UConn or Illinois. The UConn-Illinois one, I don't have a strong feel for. I really do think that's going to be a good matchup. I thought Houston would get Illinois, but they've just looked so good. And then, as you mentioned, a little bit of magic from UConn, and always seems to be one of those teams every March, and they seem to have got it. So I think we'll be talking about an Arizona and Illinois title game, but I would not be surprised to see the exact opposite either.
Love the Final Four. Tomorrow's going to be an awesome day. You've got RSL in action, 2:30 Sporting Kansas City. You've got the third round of the Valero Open. You got some NBA hoops, and, of course, the Final Four. And then the Mammoth are taking on Vancouver. So fun sports day tomorrow, then national championship on Monday night. Porter, what comes our way on a Monday edition of the show?
Bunch of hoops, of course, a little bit of hockey as well on a Monday. Tom Haberstroh stops by the program. Ken Pomeroy stops by the program, of course, on a national championship week. Roxy Bernstein will drop by the show, of course, talking some hoops. He's also on the Mammoth call this weekend, and then likely some RSL chat to wrap up the show.
There you go. We'll say goodnight. Special thank you today to Howard Beck, Kristen Peak, Jordan Bloxham, and Adrian Denny. If you miss any of the sound from the show, you can always go to the website whenever you want. Also, spring football sound up there at ESPN700sports.com. Make sure to download our mobile app and take us on the go. That mobile app is available in the App Store and the Google Play Store for free. It's the ESPN 700 app. And then for what we do in our space every afternoon for 4 hours, if you miss any of it, it's all there for your consumption online, on your phone, on your favorite podcast catcher. It's called The Drive with Spence Checketts. Also asking you to subscribe to Reality Check with Spence Checketts. My guest next week will be Pablo Mastroeni. We have Ryan Smith on, hopefully in a couple weeks as well. So some exciting stuff there. For Porter, I'm Spence saying goodnight. Have a great weekend. Be good to yourself and be good to each other. We'll talk to you on a Monday Drive. As always, you can catch that right here on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700. Remind me who we have.